This is We All Be, news-free Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
And so just want you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you drive all over the country to chase us down. Chase us down. Okay? We move so fast. I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you're a family. I don't know if you're white. Okay? But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, well, you know, that's, I owe that to you. It's an obligation that you have. How old are you?
Oh, 36.
You don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. Mm-hmm. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food. Right. There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you the feeder. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. Huh? You got to till the grain. And at night time, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to dig Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that jingle review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014, and so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.
Guess who's back? Back again. Brother Run. Tell a friend. Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's back and still black? This is We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm your host for this empowerment segment, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, the artist, and you are in News Free Dixie for the 21st century land. I want to thank everybody. Thank the moderators. Shout out to Law Dog, holding down. Law Dog, thank you so much. This show is dedicated to you. Oh, baby, you. Okay. It's dedicated to you because you encouraged me to come on tonight. I've been sitting on my thoughts, I said thought, thoughts, my thoughts about certain things in the news. It's so much going on, y'all. I believe that this pandemic was all about the CERN, speeding up CERN. Look up CERN, CERN. Take a look. It's all online and not just in your mind, okay? Check out the CERN thing. This is some weird stuff. It reminds me of y'all remember Ghostbusters, the first Ghostbusters, a classic. You know how they opened up that thing that kept all the ghosts in? That was CERN remind me of. You open up these portals, you know, like the father of America's space program was not the German guy that we brought over here for, via courtesy Operation Paperclip. I know what I'm talking about. Actually, it was a white dude named Jack Parsons. He was the father of the American space program out in Cali. He's from Pasadena. I think he got roots in Massachusetts. I don't know if he was born in Massachusetts, but his people, I believe, were from Massachusetts. But he's the father of our space program, and he was known for being a guy who practiced sex magic. Look up sex magic. He was a follower of Aleister Crowley, and also he was good friends, real tight with L. Ron Hubbard, the prolific science fiction writer, who's also the founder, father, prophet, charlatan, whatever you want to call him, of Scientology. So Jack Parsons will go out in the desert, out in the Cali desert, with some of his followers. They would have these big orgies, trying to open up portals. You know, think about the movie Rosemary Baby. He actually allegedly was trying to create. I don't know. Let's look up Jack Parsons, man. He's worth looking up. He's an interesting dude. Didn't make it to 40. Somehow he blew himself up in his garage laboratory out in Pasadena. Somehow he blew himself up. But a lot of people think he was murdered. It was foul play. But we'll never know, right? But he's the space program don't really talk about Jack Parsons. I think there's a big statue of him out in California. But this is the guy who was the father of the space program. He was trying to use sex to open up portals to summon demons. And they were trying to make like a Rosemary type baby, an Antichrist baby, supposedly. You know, he had an interesting life. Y'all should look. I'm surprised that there's no movie about his life yet. Anyway, thank you all for tuning out to tune in to get in where you fit in. In the words of Dr. Michael King Jr. Yes, Dr. Michael King Jr., not Martin. No, Michael. Like Mike. If I could be like Michael King Jr. He said, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. Okay, we checking in. Thank you all for tuning out to tune in to get in where we fit in. Yes, not Carolyn Bryant, but Carolyn Bryant Dunham. Rest in P. R.I.P. The P could stand for anything. You know, like the alphabet mafia. The P could be anything, man. We constantly questioning everything. Don't believe the hype, in the words of Flavor Flav. We're going to talk about that. That's why I'm having the show. Yes. Rest in peace, Alton Maddox. Thank you, Law Dog. Like, this show is dedicated to you. Thank you so much for encouraging me to come on tonight. Thank you, King, for tuning out to tune in to get in where you fit in. And we're going to talk about why I say RIP to Carolyn Bryant Dunham is worth talking about. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate we lost some iconic people. Some of our tallest trees in the forest lost. Now that's a reference to what Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune said about Paul Robeson. He is the tallest forest in our tree, and these guys were amazing. Harold Belafonte's Jegna was actually Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson mentored. I don't use the word mentor. He was a Jegna, a person that a lot of these entertainers from that era looked up to, but nobody could really. He was kind of like how people look at Michael Jordan. If you're a basketball player, this is how you look at Michael Jordan. That's how Paul Robeson was looked at. But Paul Robeson to me, was more serious than a Michael Jordan because he utilized his talents to free his people, to try to free, let my people go. He was using his talents to try to free humanity, not trying to get them to buy tennis shoes. So I think Paul Robeson was vibrating at a higher level than a Jordan. But I just want you to know the way that Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier held Paul Robeson in such high esteem. You look at somehow these basketball players think of a Michael Jordan or even a Kobe Bryant, whatever the era or generation. But I don't think they necessarily, in comparison to the Washington Post and New York Times, I don't believe they disrespected Alton. I'm glad that they put something of note for Alton. I shout out to Ebony Magazine for putting something of note for Alton Maddox. Shout out to Amsterdam News for doing what they did. I'm going to tell you what the problem is. I have no problem with Amsterdam News because they actually helped, from my understanding, watching that wonderful homegoing celebration at Greater Abyssinia up in Harlem. The Amsterdam News had helped publicize the crusade of Alton Maddox over the years, because it was a journalist that met Alton back in the day, and he was one of his biggest advocates. He moved on to the Village Voice and all this other stuff, but I'm not going, they helped, publicize things that Alton was doing with pivotal cases, like a Tawana Brawley, for example, and other things. So I mean, yes, criticize, critique, constructive criticism, but in comparison to what the Washington Post and New York Times wrote, I don't have a problem. My only problem with the Amsterdam Herb Boy is a legendary journalist. He actually called Al Sharpton a lawyer. Like he said, a trio of lawyers, Alton Maddox, C. Vernon Mason, and Al Sharpton. Now, C. Vernon Mason is a theologian, minister, but he was a lawyer along with Alton Maddox. When has Al Sharpton, the Right Reverend Al Sharpton, been a lawyer? Some people believe he's not a reverend, where's his church? But I don't get into stuff like that. But, my thing is a lot of the so-called new black media did not really do their due diligence in honoring Alton Maddox. A lot of people that are my so-called peers, all the stuff we talk about, all the crap about sports, and even Dylan Brooks about basketball, football draft, Met Gala, but none of these people did anything to honor our brother Alton Maddox, who sacrificed a lot to go to bat for his people, and our people let him down. We let him down. It's like, people, they say, oh, I love Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Yeah, she is. Her house is not a home. Could not get no peace at her home because of a playground in a school that was impeding on her peace of mind. All this stuff she did to help black people. I mean, Howard fired her, and yes, she still did her workshops and presentations at Howard University. She had no institution to back her up at all. Alton Maddox was attorney at war, but he had no army, no Black Liberation Army, no even militia to help him carry out the demands of the spiritual and legal descendants of Dred Scott. He was talking about us being the descendants of Dred Scott because Supreme Court Chief Justice Roger Taney said that Dred Scott nor his descendants had any rights that the white man is bound to respect by law. I'm paraphrasing. You understand? We, the descendants, the descendants, like what the descendants of Dred Scott, the spiritual and legal descendants of Dred Scott, have no rights that the white man is bound to respect by law. Can you hear me, law dog? Holler if you hear me, law dog. And the church say, I'm in raw. Ooh, baby, I'm in raw. Shibby, yeah, shibby here, shibby home. Okay, so he was fighting, the Empire Strikes Back. Dun, 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 dun. Alton Maddox was going to bat for black folks over that. People got the nerve to critique Benjamin, all about the Benjamin Crumps, all about the Benjamin Crumpy. Yeah. Yeah. Like it's his fault that all he do is chase the bag. Why must I be like that? Why must I chase the bag? Nothing but the Crump and May. Crump and May. It's not Ben Crump. Ben Crump he symbolizes the time that we live in. Y'all rather have a bag over justice because it's just us. Y'all don't care about people who's really fighting spiritual warfare, legal warfare. People that know, like Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, know that every area of human activity is all centered around warfare. We are in their system. You cannot, in your right mind, call anybody a sellout, a raccoon, a Sambo, if you do not have your own currency. All y'all critiquing people's moves and how they navigate this hell we live in. What do you believe in, heaven or hell? We living in hell. Y'all dream Wakanda. Y'all sleep Wakanda. But your reality is Rosewood. I ain't talking about the doctor that old boy Morris Chestnut played on Fox several years ago. I'm talking about Rosewood, as in Rosewood in Levy County, Florida, that got burnt down to the ground. That Rosewood. That's really a ghost town. That Rosewood. See, my thing is, we're not serious. Alton Maddox was the guy that we supposedly was looking for in a lawyer, a warrior, legal scholar, a legal scholar warrior. That's what we said we wanted after Johnny Cochran. He was there. He was there. Yeah. Just call his name. Alton was there. And we didn't care. Alton dealing with evictions, getting his headquarters getting taken. You know, man we got the nerve to get mad about some Carolyn Bryant Dunham when you got warriors like Alton Maddox don't even have the resources to do what he did, but he did it some type of way. He had a beautiful black woman as his partner in life. Rest in honor, Sister Leola Maddox. I had a pleasure of meeting her several times. Wonderful spirited woman. Loved her man and loved her people. Made so many sacrifices so Alton could continue his God work even after getting disbarred. Alton was disbarred back in 1990. So this man for the last 33 years still going to war for the people, still doing his legalese, the Maddox method, without any fanfare, without any really support and resources, finding ways to bring speakers like a Saharazad Ali. I think I said her name, Sister Saharazad Ali, like a Dick Gregory, Baba Dick Gregory, like a Dr. Randy Short, like a Khalid Muhammad. Still was able to bring these folks to the people. God knows, only God and Leola knows why all that money came for to support these ventures. But he did it day in and day out, year in and year out. And y'all got the nerve to talk about Ben Crump when Alton Maddox was here for years, putting in the people's work, and we paid them no mind. If we paid them anything at all. You understand? So this is where we at. We say we want this. We're not ready. Nobody can call nobody in their right mind an Uncle Tom. Well, we don't get it. Everybody wants to say, well, they'll sell out this, that. If you're using stuff like this, if this is what you're using as currency, you a slave too. Y'all, we all slaves. If this is our currency, if we're using their currency to pay for food, to pay rent, to pay bills, to pay for play, then we're no better than the people we say are so-called Sambos and sellouts and raccoons. You understand what I'm saying? It's like slave against slave. It's like the battle royale. You know, we talk about, y'all should read the book Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. In the opening scene, it's a battle royale. When I talk about battle royale, I'm not talking about WWE, none of that wrestling stuff. I'm talking about a battle royale really was about black bucks, young black men in a ring, in some type of arena, blindfolded, punching at each other until the last man standing. You got white men around this so-called ring, right? Throwing money on the ground. So the last man standing gets to collect all the money. This is how Jack Johnson Foundation, this is his foundation coming up in Galveston, Texas. He will win these battle royales. He'll be the last one standing. This is Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion in boxing history, right? That's how he came up. I come up hard, baby. Come up hard. You understand? So you got to beat black men silly, or black boys beating each other silly, black men, whatever, for the pleasure entertainment of white folk, of white men. What have changed since that time? Just bigger paydays. But once a slave, I guess always a slave. And even the Django Unchained movie showed a little bit of show how the black bucks would fight each other even to the death. You know, I think they captured the brutality of slavery, because we don't understand how brutal slavery really was. And all you got to do, really, to be honest with you, is to go to the primary sources of the slave narratives. You had people that were former slaves living well into the 20th century. My father's mother, her father, was born into slavery in South Carolina back in 1862. That's my great-grandfather. I'm 43. My great-grandfather was a slave. You understand what I'm saying? That's not like, I ain't say my grandfather 4 times removed, my great. I'm saying this is my great-grandfather. My grandmother, who I lost in 2016, her father was born to slavery in this country in South Carolina, one of the original 13 colonies. He lived into the Great Depression. When my grandmother was born, he was in his mid to late 60s. So that gives me hope, because I don't have no kids as far as I know, but I don't mind having no kids. We're going to talk about that in this show. People choices as far as partners and mates. And, I'm 43, man. I just can't, I understand now. I overstand better than I didn't overstand when I was 23. I better overstand at 43 where I didn't understand at 23. And we'll talk about that. That's why I'm having this show, because there's a lot of taboo stuff, and it shouldn't be taboo. It should be open season for anything. It's all about transparency now. It should be about that. But and Alton was struggling, man. I mean, he died in a nursing home. They say he had dementia. He lost his wife April Fool's Day of all days, 2017. That black woman, like Baba Dick Gregory would say, 2 of the most powerful forces in American history, black church and the black woman, and now they both been compromised. The black church has been woefully compromised. Black women have been compromised. I ain't say all black women, but I'm saying you got to understand a lot of things that I'm talking about. Look at like this. 60 years ago, both set of my grandparents were married. Were they happily married? They were married with a bunch of kids. 60 years ago, black folks were very married. 60 years later, we're celebrating single motherhood, baby daddy, baby mama culture. We went from having whole black families 60 years ago to now celebrating baby mama culture, single women out here, very influential women, not judge nobody, but showing their bellies with no man around. Who is the father of this child? I mean, women in politics, entertainment, all areas of human activity, celebrating the fact that they have no man, particularly black women. But yet 60 years ago, we had married black people. Like I said, both set of my grandparents were married 60 years ago. So what happened? A lot of programming. What people don't understand, what happens to America happens to black people first. We're the guinea pigs and lab rats for everybody else. So they get to us first before they get to everybody. They because not just attack, people gotta understand what I'm talking about here. Alton, his father was a preacher. He was born in Inkster, Michigan. People from Georgia. He grew up in Georgia. July 21st, 1945. Alton, I think, came into the world. in Inkster, Michigan, which is outside of Detroit. It's a black town outside Detroit. You gotta understand the world that Alton grew up in. He didn't have an inferiority complex. He didn't know how to subjugate himself or be submissive to so-called white authority. Because all he known was this black people in positions of influence and power where he grew up at, whether it be Michigan or whether it be down in Georgia, where he's going to be buried next to his wife in the family plot down there, I think Noonan, Georgia, something like that, outside of Atlanta. But it's interesting. Some of our greatest leaders or whatever, like people that were effective at organizing and galvanizing people towards the cause, they come from similar backgrounds, like an Alton Maddox. Like I think about A. Philip Randolph. You know, he was from Florida. He came from an all-black town. You know, he organized the Pullman Porters, one of the first significant unions to really empower black men or black people. He came from an all-black town in Florida. Now, even Zora Neale Hurston, the great writer and anthropologist, because Zora Neale Hurston was not just a writer, she was a scientist. And people want to shortchange her like they shortchanged Paul Robeson, who spoke over 20 different languages fluently. And he was the top of his class at Columbia Law School and Rutgers and all that. Phi Beta Kappa, a brilliant mind. So she came from Eatonville, an all-black town in Florida. So she had a different viewpoint. They didn't know what it was to be considered less than white folk, to compare yourself to white people. They were in competition with themselves. They were the best versions of themselves. They wasn't interested in being what white folks think you should be, or you gotta be like we tell our kids we're out here that growing up, you gotta be just twice as smart and twice as fast as white folks ain't twice as smart as you or twice as fast as you. It's like what Donald Trump, Agent Orange, said. He said the game is rigged. It has nothing to do with talent. Y'all don't understand. Y'all say, well, you know, so-and-so ain't the most talented singer or dancer. It don't have nothing to do with that. There are a lot of talented, very supremely talented people that will never become famous or rich or well-known or celebrated because it's more than just talent in a system like this. It's about marketing. It's like when people, remember I was at work the other day, somebody asked me, well, Brother Ron, who's the greatest basketball player? I said, how do you find the greatest of all time? I think there's a lot of greats. I don't think there's one greatest of all time. I think there's a lot of greats in their era. I think Michael Jordan several years ago talked about how, you know, he's a great. He didn't consider himself the greatest of all time, but people say that. But you gotta understand, why do people say that Michael Jordan is the greatest? Well, he was phenomenal. You know, you can make a case that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of his era. But is he the greatest of all time? I mean, look at, you say he's better than Bill Russell, who won 11 rings out of 13 years. He only had 2 losing seasons in 13 years, 11-2, right? He lost to Bob Pettit, the St. Louis Hawks, his second year in the league, and then he lost to Will Chamberlain in the conference finals, who went on to win his thing. Then you got Will Chamberlain. That stuff that Will Chamberlain done that will never be duplicated again. Will Chamberlain was a freak of nature. He was an amazing specimen of a man and of an athlete. And he got records in the book that will never be broken properly. Not the way the game is played. Now, he scored 100 points in the game. Y'all talk about Kobe 81. He scored 100 points in the game. Man, 50 points in the season, stuff like that is crazy. But anyway, there are so many people, right? So my thing is, those type of arguments are not meant to be one that are definitive. It's just fun to debate. And also it gets you a greater appreciation for the richness of the sport, of the history of the sport. So it would be nice if we had media, especially so-called new black media, that could really pay homage to Brother Alton like the way he should be paid homage to. I had the good fortune of connecting with Brother Alton. I actually interviewed him for We All Be News. Wish I could have interviewed him more. And also I went to Brooklyn to present him with the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I don't know, man. I just, our people are weird about stuff. We don't really support those that love us. We honor the traitors and the turncoats and all that, but we don't support the people that really go to bat for us. And I'm in that category. You know, people kind of strange. I mean, I be at my job and folks will recognize me. Oh man, you brother run for We All Be. I mean, Dick Gregory and all the stuff you doing, brother. And here I'm cleaning your cubicle and I'm cleaning your toilet. I'm mopping your floor. You know, but yet and people say, oh, you should do more stuff. I said, oh, I'm trying to do this to pay some bills, man. And if y'all supported what I do, like people say, you should run for mayor of Memphis. I got great ideas, but I won't support. I don't run no participation trophy type of thing. I want to win. I play to win if I want to play. You understand? But people are kind of weird about stuff, man. Let's see. Yeah, that's me. I gave Alton, this is back in the fall of 2014. I gave Mr. Maddox his roses while he could smell them. Went to a Freedom Party meeting in Brooklyn, presented him with the We All Be Lifetime Artist Achievement Award. His people gave him a standing ovation and had a good time. But Alton was one of the last great ones, man. Like, you know, it wasn't all about him. You know, he had the slave theater thing. Like I say, he would bring all these people in. You know, he was woke before it was, you know, while everybody else was sleeping, he stayed woke. I stayed woke. He been woke. I mean, he helped so many people along the way. He don't get enough credit, man. But just had a beautiful spirit about his person. Let me see. I don't know, man. I'm looking at everybody else. People like to go off and talk. Let me see. Yeah, that's us. It's back in May of 2015. That was 8 years ago. It's Bobby Dick Gregory. Alton brought Bobby Dick Gregory up to New York to speak at the Cotton Club in Harlem, at the Cotton Club. And I went, pay my respects to Bobby Gregory and the brother Alton. And you see, man, it was amazing, man. Like to be in their presence. I would, if you told me they'll both be righteous ancestors 8 years later, I wouldn't believe it. But we lost Dick like a little bit over 2 years later. Then Alton died on my birthday. He died on my life affirmation day, like on April 23rd. That's crazy. He died the morning of April 23rd. I kind of feel a little bit off that morning when I woke up. Now I know why. And it was Dr. Randy Short that informed us in a group chat text that he became a righteous ancestor later on that Sunday night. And I was really taken aback by it. I really was. But he was amazing, man. Dick had so much love and respect for Baba Alton. And it showed because like when Baba Alton called, Dick would answer the call. And I even remember when Dick lost his first grandchild back in I want to say it was December 2015, either late November of 2015 or December of 2015. And I saw him at a show. I had met Dick down in Atlanta. He was doing a show with Paul Mooney. And I believe one of the nights, Brother Alton was in the audience with his people. So he was a consummate supporter. They both supported and admired each other. And now they're gone. I'm in the middle. So I'm the last man standing. So that means there's more work for me to do. My workload has increased. And like my God work has evolved into a fierce urgency of now. So let me read what I wrote about Brother Alton. And I'll look at the chat. Thank y'all for the moderators and the people who are commenting in the chat. A lot of times I just freestyle off the top of my dome. I don't have a lot of things planned, but a lot of things I want to touch on. And then I'm going to move on to some other topics at hand. But this is We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. And this is a Mercury retrograde going on. This is like, once I find out what Mercury retrogrades are, this is going to be going on, folks, till May the 14th. And the next one will be in August, I believe, of this year. But these Mercury retrogrades are something else, man. This stuff is real. People say, oh, this is in your head. No, this is real. Man, y'all got to understand, knowledge is the currency of the universe. Get hip to this stuff. me see. And we're gonna talk about Harry Belafonte and yeah, they talk about this Werner von Braun, however you say the name. But I'm talking about Jack Parsons, man. He's the real father of the NASA space program. They don't want to talk about him because this dude was into summoning demons and stuff through sex magic. You know, he was a follower of Aleister Crowley. They were pen pals, and also he was close friends with L. Ron Hubbard, science fiction writer, the founder of Scientology. They still trying to get me. I went to Scientology headquarters or their location in Hollywood, and these folks have not left me alone for 6 years. They keep on sending me stuff in the mail about, you know, that I let them do an audit on me. I'll talk about that in one show. But they can't leave me alone. They keep on trying to send me stuff to get me to join. Yeah, Farrakhan and them had a relationship with the Scientology people. I don't know what they're doing now, but they endorse, I think, auditing and stuff like that. Thank you, Brother Bruce, for supporting our dear brother and his family. Yeah, it makes a difference. Like Bill Tatum was of a different generation, though. Like DK, like I'm saying, like the new black people talking about new black media, but y'all not covering like the past and like it's easy. Like I'm not saying Harry Belafonte deserve all the coverage he should get. It should be, you know, his life most definitely should be celebrated because he made a lot of sacrifices for the people. But what I'm saying, our people are so ahistorical. You know, a lot of people don't know Tawana Brawley. If they made a Netflix documentary or like they did for the Central Park 5, I knew about the Central Park 5 for years. As a teenager, I knew about the Central Park 5. I used to look at shows like 2020 and Nightline and stuff like that. You know, I'm 43. But now when Netflix do a limited docudrama about the Central Park 5, everybody's upset. I still haven't looked at the whole thing on the Central Park 5. It's really like Black Lives trauma porn, but it needs to be addressed. But the thing about it is they blame Trump. How's Trump the reason why the Central Park 5 was in prison? Wasn't the Democrats that controlled law enforcement in New York City? What party was Robert Morgenthau affiliated with? Was he a Democrat? How is Trump the evil guy in the Central Park 5 story because he wrote or paid for an op-ed based on what the fake news was giving out as the truth or as facts? Y'all got this selective outrage. It's ridiculous. And yet you had black folks back in the 80s that loved Trump. And even in the 90s, had a lot of rappers, you know. Listen to Method Man's Judgment Day album. It's good, very good album. He got a skit with Trump calling him, when you gonna release the album, Method Man? We're waiting. You know, I think he was in Palm Beach, not Mar-a-Lago. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's a change of the guard, man. There's no respect for the elders no more. I lost a couple people in Memphis, some great legends. Queen Mother Georgia King, she passed back in February of this year. Then we lost the one and only Sweet Willie Wine, Minister Yahweh. Now, what was crazy to me was that, not crazy that she deserved it. Queen Mother Georgia King got the Harry Belafonte treatment from the local media. They had a story, an obituary in the papers, all the papers in Memphis, all the local news outlets are saying covered her passing, paid tribute, celebrated her. Even before she passed, she had a street name in her honor. But yet, when we lost Minister Yahweh, Sweet Willie Wine, one of the co-founders of the Memphis Invaders, which was our version of the Black Panther Party, a man who had his own March Against Fear, who almost was lynched. Sweet Willie Wine was almost lynched over 50 years ago in Forest City, Arkansas, trying to march on behalf of black folks to the capital of Arkansas. I believe the governor of Arkansas at the time was Winthrop Rockefeller. Yes, a Rockefeller, not Jay-Z Dane Rockefeller, y'all, but the real Rockefellers. Standard Oil Rockefeller. Winthrop Rockefeller was the governor of Arkansas, I believe, at the time. Sweet Willie Wine, Minister Yahweh almost lost his life trying to rep for his black folk. And then when he passed, it's like a giant tree fell, but nobody heard it make a sound. There was no celebration of him in the local newspapers and the local TV media, news TV media. I went to both of their homegoings. Like a night and day difference. But they were both of the people, though. And I said, they live into their 80s, but my thing is, you don't know all the sacrifices they had to go through just to advocate for black folk, because we are so ungrateful when it comes to people that love us, who go to bat for us, and yet we let them wither away. We let them disappear, vanish without a trace. We make them a side note if they mention it all. It's really sad. Now, I'm seeing it. I'm half their age, right? I'm 43. Now I say, you know what? I have dedicated so much to try to do right by black folk. It really doesn't pay, to be honest with you. It really doesn't pay. Thank you, Sister Betty Jones. We love you madly for the donation. You said, keep being you. I am. That's all I know. To thy own self be true. Like the great Thelonious Spear monk said, to be a genius is just to be yourself. To be a genius is to be most like yourself. That's all. So we all are geniuses, but we don't realize that, because we allow people to dictate the terms of our existence and what our expectations in life should be, what our potential should be. See that? I mean, we got to reclaim our narrative. Like I said, Brother Alton his folks made sure that he never had developed an inferiority complex when he was a young man. His folks made sure that he knew who he was, where he from, who his people is, who's he be, and all that stuff, so he could stand tall. That's why Alton was able to weather the storm, because he knew who he was from an early age. It was instilled in him from an early age that he was somebody of merit and worth. And our kids are lacking that in this day of so-called age of information. It's not free. The information highway has a lot of toll booths, have a lot of detour signs. They are curating the information we need to liberate ourselves. They are shadow banning, curating the information that we need to feed our minds, to feed our imaginations, to manifest an alternate reality where we can live like human beings. I don't know if my stream is holding up. I see it might be wobble, wobble, shaky, shaky. But our people, man, it's really sad. But let me read what I wrote about Brother Alton. And I can do an Alton Maddox show by itself, but and I get all of my feelings about this. But let me read this thing and wrap it up, and we move on. And thank you, Sister Betty Jones, for the donation. We love you madly. Thank you so much. That means a lot. It goes a long way. All right, I'm reading my tribute, my little written tribute to Alton. Okay. I feel every time I go into the court, I am trying to dismantle the Dred Scott decision, which says a black person is 3/5 a human being. All my cases are just camouflage Dred Scott. The only thing I know to do in the courtroom is to knock the door down and whip some butt. There's a reason why nobody will ever let me back in a courtroom again, because they don't want any more butt whippings. Lawyers run this country. Any group without competent and zealous lawyers is located at the bottom rung of the political ladder. This is Alton Maddox. These are his words. Attorney at war. Sunrise, July 21st, 1945. Sunset, April 23rd, 2023. 8 years ago this May, I took a photo with two of the tallest trees in our forest, the Honorable Baba Dick Gregory and the Honorable Baba Alton Maddox Jr. at the Cotton Club in Harlem, New York City. Let's see, I'll read. Take me out, drop me off in Harlem. 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 I'm just doing a little freestyle. But let me get back on track, y'all. See how it works? This is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Okay. 3 creatively maladjusted individuals enjoying each other's company, man. 8 years later, they are now righteous ancestors, and I am the last man standing, man. With the passing of these great human beings, my workload has increased, and my God work has evolved into a fierce urgency of now. See how it works. Brother Alton knew how to make an entrance, a point, a difference, and an exit. He transitioned on my 43rd Life Affirmation Day, April 23rd, 2023. The universal God made sure that I will never forget that this freedom fighter actually existed and that his black life mattered. Just like April 4th is Maya Angelou's Life Affirmation Day, but also Reverend's MLK, that's Michael Luther King Jr. Yes, Michael, not Martin. Not my Ann and Adam Clayton Powell Jr.'s feast days. And February 21st is Nina Simone's Life Affirmation Day, as well as Malcolm X's feast day. My day will forever, when I mean by feast day, I mean, when saints die, the day of their death is their feast day. So to me, these are saints. I'm not waiting for no white man's church to tell me who my saints are. These are God's servants. Sit here for a purpose to illuminate and liberate their people by any means necessary. Okay? My day will forever be a day of both celebration, meaning my birthday, Life Affirmation Day, will forever be a day of both celebration as well as of mourning and reflection. Many of us, now hear what I'm saying. Many of us was looking for the next Johnny Cochran and have criticized Benjamin Crump for allegedly being too much all about the Benjamins. And yet we had Brother Alton, a real legal scholar and warrior who stayed ready to do battle for us as our attorney at war. But we failed him, though. We ain't got no, Black Liberation Army. And we ain't ready to go to war. The games, okay? We as Black America, yes, Black America have a long history of betraying our true champions, revolutionaries, and freedom fighters. And yet we have no problem celebrating sellouts, traitors, and degeneracy. A change has got to come. Excuse me. I had a chance to meet our dear brother on several occasions and even interviewed him once for We All Be News, Radio, and TV. In 2014, I traveled to Brooklyn, New York to present him with a 2014 We All Be Artivist Lifetime Achievement Award for using his creative genius and dedicated service for the upliftment and empowerment of humanity. In Atlanta in May 2014, I even had a chance to take a photo with him and one of his most famous and controversial clients, Sister Tawana Brawley, which appeared on CNN. And somebody told me they used that photo on CNN, I believe that year, that summer or something like that. Contrary to what the mainstream media outlets are writing in the hit jobs, posing as obituaries for Brother Alton, something sinister did indeed transpire concerning our dear Sister Tawana. And like Baba Dick used to say, We need to pray every day at noon for the truth to come out somewhere. Although he was a junior, our dear brother Alton was truly a one of a kind, an American iconoclastic original. He was one of the most brilliant legal minds this country has ever seen and produced. But being an advocate for the legal and spiritual descendants of Dred Scott made him too dangerous to be allowed to practice his brand of legalese in U.S. courtroom. Yeah, I'm not stuttering. I'm courtroom. America got announced on triple K's. Okay. Okay. And so he was disbarred for 33 years. That's a shame. Brother Alton was a true people's lawyer and advocate for the underdog. He did a lot of pro bono work, that means working for free, for the people. His clients list included the families of Yusuf Hawkins, Michael Stewart, and Michael Griffith, as well as Willie Bosket, Reverend Al Sharpton, and Michael Briscoe from the Central Park 5 case. And Michael Briscoe was able to escape what they did to the Central Park 5 because of somebody like Alton Maddox. We love you madly. We really do. Oh, I'm losing my mind. No, I'm not. My mind is still intact. But just want to read that into the record, right? This is a show of record. Like, we got to talk about this. People gonna be watching this show years from now, I believe. Maybe not. I don't know. We love you madly, attorney at war. Rest in power, man. Now, I want to read. Let me see. Take this picture down. It's good to have these pictures. I got a lot of pictures. I got a lot of archive stuff that I haven't posted. That I need help. I need a team. I got a lot of stuff that I sit on, and it's frustrating to be me. Be honest with you. People, you should do this and that. People don't understand, man. My time be going fast. You understand? Things be flying. I gave him that award back in 2014 at his Freedom Party meeting in Brooklyn. He really appreciated it, and his people did too. But I'm gonna read what I wrote about that concerning that visit and the award from the We All Be archives, man. Saluting vets. Let's see. Saluting vets in the Black liberation struggle. 2014 We All Be Lifetime or Artivist Lifetime Achievement honoree, Brother Alton H. Maddox Jr. Present to Brother Alton Maddox Jr. for using his creative genius and dedicated service for the upliftment and empowerment of humanity. Brother Maddox is one of the greatest and most brilliant legal minds Black America has ever produced, and America has ever witnessed. He is the attorney at war for Black liberation against the oppressive and unrelenting bully known as white supremacy racism. I had the honor of tracking this great man down, No Dog the Bounty Hunter, of course, in Brooklyn, New York this past Saturday, November 8th, 2014, to present the We All Be Lifetime Artivist or the We All Be Artivist Lifetime Achievement Award to him in front of his admirers, loyalists, and comrades at a Freedom Party meeting at their respective gathering place. He was truly moved beyond words by my genuine gesture, and it was a humbling experience for me to come from Memphis, Tennessee, to give him this small recognition. When we honor our unsung, we are actually singing their song for them. He received a standing ovation from his people, and I received a warm reception from them as well. They allowed me the floor to address their questions about Memphis, especially as it relates to the MLK assassination conspiracy. I truly felt at home among my people. The best is yet to come. So that's what I originally wrote when I went up there to New York to present him with that. And yeah. And also I want to add this. I think we close out. And, like I said, I be freestyling off top of my dome with my shows. I mean, I'm into researching the best I can. Sometimes I be stalling because there's so much I want to share with people, but it's frustrating. I feel so limited in my scope and outreach a lot of times doing stuff. So this is me with Alton and his most famous or infamous client, Sister Tawana Brawley. This is Al Sharpton's come up. Al started with Reverend Al Sharpton started with attorney Alton Maddox and attorney C. Vernon Mason on all these cases. This is how he came up Tawana Brawley thing. And Tawana Brawley allegedly was found in a trash bag with feces and stuff written on her, like, N-word, derogatory stuff. Allegedly she was raped and left for dead and all this stuff. And folks saying it's a hoax. I don't know. Is it a hoax? I mean, Alton basically, he literally put his career on the line for taking this case of Tawana Brawley. Al Sharpton, it worked out for Al, but Alton was a casualty of war as it relates to the Tawana Brawley case. And Tawana Brawley, I believe, still owe, because she lost the case against Steve Pagones. I think he was like a prosecutor in the case. And basically, I guess she owed like over $400,000 to him and the state because of interest. Because I don't know what. Tawana Brawley saying she was a decent person when I met her. This is back in 2014. She was cool. I don't know but something happened. It's like we don't understand the history of how they treat not only just black women, but black people in this country. Like with Sandra Bland, Tawana Brawley, and what was Tawana Brawley? It was 87. Sandra Bland, 2015. What's really changed? Something happened to Sandra Bland. I ain't gonna never believe she killed herself. She probably was already dead in the mugshot, but where is the outrage? Like my thing is, people will call people like Alton Maddox and people like that ambulance chasers, they race baiters and all this stuff. But you need people like Alton Maddox to keep folks on their toes. You need a person that's well versed in the legalese of this country. Man was a brilliant legal scholar. This man won cases that people thought he had no business winning. Y'all be looking at Perry Mason and Matlock. It's based on people like Alton Maddox. He winning cases where people say, ain't no way you got a snowball chance in hell of winning, and he wins it. That's who Alton Maddox was. It's like with the Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger was based on Bass Reeves, who was a black man. See, black history is stranger than science fiction. It's better than a Hollywood movie. We are the real superheroes and she-roos, but we don't know. We forgot we knew who we knew. We forgot whose we are. Alton never forgot who he was. That's why he was able to stand 10 toes down, even getting disbarred, even going all in. He got so far to say his obituary, like a New York Times and Washington Post, that what happened to Tawana Brawley was a hoax. When you got medical experts, from my understanding, the guy that spoke at Alton's homegoing, this guy named Kurt Stewart, I believe his name was Kurt Stewart, from that county where Tawana was from when the incident happened in New York. He got a documentary he working on that he showed to his friend, the late great novelist Toni Morrison. She said that girl was raped. She said that girl was violated. And my understanding, you had medical professionals saying that she was violated. So why has that been suppressed? Like, where is this narrative? We got people in the medical field saying that something did happen to Tawana that was very traumatic. But all you hear from New York Times and Washington Post, it was a hoax. It was a hoax. But yeah, Alton doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on it. He lost his license based on this case. He was crucified and vilified and ridiculed. But this man was able to get folks like the guy, I think Michael Briscoe, I think he spoke at the funeral. I think that was him. He was facing the same rap as the Central Park Five, but Alton was able to get him off. You had people like Mumia Abu-Jamal. Yes, that Mumia Abu-Jamal. He wanted Alton Maddox to represent him, but Alton got disbarred before he could do it. Pam Africa, who was part of MOVE, she spoke at Alton's homegoing. She talked about how Mumia Abu-Jamal was very impressed with the brilliant and strategic mind of Alton Maddox Jr., and he wanted him to be his representative. Just like I read that you like John Africa, right? You know, the move bombing back in Philly back in May. All this stuff happened to me back in May of 85. Was it May 13th, 85? I believe move happened when you dropped a bomb on me. The second time they dropped a bomb in the US city, and both times on black communities and neighborhoods, right? So John Africa got killed, but John Africa, people thought he was crazy. They say I'm crazy. That man will represent himself in court and get off. This man will go into court, John Africa, and represent himself in court. What is it? Only a person representing himself in court has a fool for a client. This guy was a very educated nut. He was no fool. He was crazy like a fox and nutty like a squirrel. This man was able to get himself off. Every time they dragged John Africa into court, from my understanding, he was able to get off representing himself. So they had to kill him. Oh, enough of this, taking him to court and he winning. We got to get rid of John Africa. And they was willing to get rid of women and children while they trying to get John Africa. This is like, 8 years before Waco for David Koresh. Y'all still believe the stuff they pushing on Netflix and all this stuff about what happened in Waco. Wake up, people. Wake up. Wake up, everybody. Wake up, everybody. But something happened to Tawana. I ain't gonna never forget the great historian, not just great black historian, but one of the greatest historians this country ever produced of any color, Dr. John Hope Franklin. Dr. John Hope Franklin was a survivor of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre. The reason why I say he was a survivor, his father was a lawyer who had a practice in Tulsa. He was in the process of moving his family to Tulsa when the race massacre happened in May, again, at the end of May of 1921, where they burned down, destroyed Black Wall Street. Dr. John Hope Franklin's father was the reason why black folks was able to rebuild in Tulsa and have a second renaissance. What they don't tell you, this is why we got to study history. Y'all keep on depending on your enemy to tell you who you are. Black folks rebuilt in Tulsa. They came back bigger, blacker, and stronger. Let me say that again. Them white folks, them devils, they destroyed Tulsa within 24 hours. Black folks was able to rebuild Tulsa bigger, blacker, and stronger. They came back stronger. That's what they don't tell y'all. And because of Dr. John Hope Franklin's father fighting for the black folks to be able to stay in Tulsa, they were trying to take their land, seize everything, and get rid of them black folks. But Dr. John Hope Franklin's father fought for black people to have the right to rebuild, and it was a success. Dr. John Hope Franklin was a professor at Duke University. He was like professor emeritus at the time when the Duke thing happened. And he said himself, he said something happened. They can't tell me nothing didn't happen to that girl. And the reason why they was able to dismiss that case was because she was a black stripper. Not only is she a black woman, she's a stripper. She has no rights that the white man is bound to respect. Not only that, she's a descendant of Dred Scott, a legal and spiritual descendant. Let me shut up before I get kicked out. They got quiet time of Dred Scott. So she's a black woman who's a stripper and a legal and spiritual descendant of Dred Scott, and she's in tobacco country in North Carolina. So we don't care what happened. You had the local prosecutor, I believe he lost his career over trying to go to bat for old girl. And they got rid of the prosecutor. I think Sharpton was involved in that. It was echoes of Tawana Brawley, right? Another hoax. There's always a hoax. Something happened to Tawana Brawley, man. I don't know. She knows. I don't know. But something happened. It's like, but they always want to vilify the victim of something, even if something happened. What happened? It's like, okay, there was a case in Alabama that was brought up at the funeral. because like Alton was not only was he a great legal scholar, but he was a brilliant historian. The rape of Reese, the rape of Reese Taylor, that happened back in the 40s in Alabama. Reese Taylor was a young, beautiful black woman. She was married, young, beautiful, married black woman in her early 20s. She was walking home from church service with her friend and her son, her best friend and her best friend's son, when a truckload of white men kidnapped her, I believe, at gunpoint, and they ran a train on her. They ran a train on her. They, without her consent. And so they messed her up so bad she could never have children again. She had one daughter, but they destroyed her womb so horrible. They did some horrible things to her body that she could no longer have children. And she was walking home from church, but yet they said, oh, the media, the white media, oh, she was a hooker, she was a prostitute. She coming home from church, about to go home to a daddy and a husband and her daughter. And yet they got the nerve to say she was a prostitute, that she was a loose woman. This is what they did. And yet, Rosa Parks was working for the NACP in Montgomery. She came and investigated. See, we all know Rosa Parks as the woman who refused to move off the bus seat. Rosa Parks was a revolutionary. Her grandfather was a Garveyite. She came from a family that believed in Marcus Garvey, but her folks were so light-skinned. Marcus Garvey didn't trust light-skinned Negroes, but they still were Garveyite. They were angry black folks. They believe in self-defense and arming yourself. They believe in the Second Amendment. But Rosa Parks investigated what happened to Reese Taylor. And you had a grand jury. They didn't even indict a ham sandwich, let alone some chitlin. So, but some of the white men who was involved in kidnapping and violating her confessed to doing it, and yet they still would not hold. They were not held accountable for what they did to Reese Taylor. So she never got any justice. And she lived to be almost 100 years old. She lived long enough to see Obama become president of the United States. She lived to be almost 100 years old. And to deal with that, she lost the right to have and bear children because of what these devils did to her. I can call them men. These monsters did this to her, coming home from church. And the white folks didn't even have it in their heart to do something about these white men, to hold them accountable by their laws. What people don't understand, even with the Montgomery Bus Boycott, before that happened, you had black women being violated by white men in authority positions, like whether it be the bus driver or the police. You had black women being violated by white power authority figures. But the Montgomery Bus Boycott was a sea change because you had black men who were military veterans, World War II, Korean War veterans. They said enough was enough. They start, escorting the sisters, arm watch, it's all this stuff. They don't talk about all the things with the Montgomery Bus Boycott. The reason why black folks were able to have a successful boycott for 381 straight days. They don't tell you all the nuts and bolts that went into that process. It was very sophisticated how black folks were able to move. Because when you talk about the civil rights movement, all y'all thinking about is, it's black folks, poor, destitute black folks waiting for white people, white college students from up north to save them, whatever. Anyway, they did the same thing on Reese Taylor, try to assassinate her character, and she was the one that was the victim. So this was like 10 years before Montgomery Bus Boycott. Look up the Reese Taylor thing. So something happened, like Dr. John Hope Franklin said, he believes something happened in the Duke lacrosse case, and that girl ended up killing her boyfriend, I think, the stripper. She might have lost her mind after that because, people looked at her different. Oh, the Duke lacrosse boys, they innocent. I don't know what they did. Something happened to them. If you know anything about these white boy frat parties, it'd be some really shady stuff be going on. I went to an Ivy League school. I went to WashU in St. Louis, the Harvard of the Midwest, supposedly. These white boys be the ones that run the world. These like the Illuminati, skull and bones. Y'all know that George H.W. Bush grandfather went to WashU. He was a financier behind the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis. So that's why they always would have when they have a presidential debates, like when there's a presidential campaign going on, a lot of times they'll choose Washington University to hold either the vice president or the presidential debates, because they had Trump and Hillary there in 2016 for the presidential debates. Then I remember when I was there back in 2000 as a student, they had Al Gore and George W. Bush, whose great grandfather was an alum of Washington in St. Louis. So I'm just all over the place. But anyway, something happened, right? And like Bobby Dick said, pray for the truth to come out. But Alton should never be forgotten. He was a warrior. He was one of our shining black princes, and he is revolutionary royalty. So this is We All Be News Free Dicks for the 21st century. Let me see what y'all saying over here. Yeah, the Dred Scott, that is the blueprint, because y'all don't understand. Basically, the Supreme Court told us back then through Dred Scott that black folk, we have no rights. We have no rights. We're not recognized as having rights. So this is the genius of Alton. He overstood his assignment. He did all he could within his powers to right a wrong. And yet he didn't have support like he should have had from us. Because please forgive us, for they know not what they do. We were so ignorant of who we are. And he wasn't. Because he already knew who he was from birth. This is how a lot of y'all feel. Thanks for sharing your opinion. All my brother. Ben Crump is, I don't think he's an apostle. What it is, he represents the zeitgeist of the times. It's not about justice. It's just us getting the bag. It's not about justice. It's like we at a point where I feel sorry that George Floyd died the way he died, but stop comparing him to Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and Dr. King. These men dedicated their lives to the liberation of their people. Did George Floyd, no disrespect to the dead, did George Floyd, was his life dedicated to liberating black people the way that Medgar Evers' life, whose death feast day is coming up next month, will be the 60th anniversary of the assassination of Medgar Evers in front of his family down in Jackson, Mississippi, back in June of '63. He was just 37 years young. You trying to tell me that George Floyd is on the same level as Medgar Evers? Really? This is where we at as a people right now. There's no disrespect to the dead. I think George Floyd had more funerals than Martin Luther King, Malcolm, and Medgar put together. But anyway, well, that's how. But I'm saying with Ben Crump, I'm not even gonna not Ben. I met Ben a couple of times. I have no problem with Ben because I understand he understands he understands his assignment. His assignment is not to be an attorney at war. Is to be an attorney with bag will travel. Attorney with bag will travel. He's about securing the bag for his clients. That's why they hired Ben Crump. It's not about actually changing laws and legislation and actually holding these people accountable. Actually, it's about show me the money. Show me the money, honey. Show me the money. So I ain't knocking him like that. I know about Leotis. He worked jobs as a librarian, I believe. But to me, he was disbarred because, my thing is, why wasn't he able to practice? I mean, my thing is, we got folks with like when the Tawana Brawley thing happened, I believe Bill Cosby offered some money. I think Don King offered $100,000 for her education. What happened to, you got black folks with money, we don't support nothing. Like, well, Dr. Bill Cosby, what he messed up to me was he didn't invest in backup. Like maybe Dr. Bill Cosby should have made some donations to the local police unions, the Fraternal Order of Police, should have made some campaign donations to a prosecutor that promised that they will not, press charges against this person because There was no evidence to prove that he did anything to Andrea Constant. You had the police did a criminal investigation. They could not find any evidence of any wrongdoing as it relates to violating Andrea Constant, whatever her name is. And then I believe the prosecutor at the time who told Mr. Cosby or Dr. Cosby that he would not bring any charges against him, just come in and give his deposition. I think he suggested to Andrea Constant, whatever her name is, you know, Shy Soul Bob, whatever her name, that she should pursue a civil lawsuit against Cosby, which she did, and was able to get almost $5 million. So why was Alton tied up? You know, because Alton was, I'm on that, I'm on the email list for the Freedom Party. Now they're always trying to deal with some type of getting kicked out of some place or evictions or something. But brother Bruce, you up there, you know better than I do. And I don't trust everything I read anymore, especially these hit jobs called obituaries that pertain to our dear brother, the late great Alton Maddox Jr. So I don't know. I'll look into that some more myself. Alton stated the post. You know the problem? I just told you we don't have a Black Liberation Army. We have no institution. There is no organization that we can go to address these grievances. It's like with Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, the way she died was questionable. Adi Khalid Muhammad death, that was over what, 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. We don't have it in us. If Alton was some type of celebrity or some type of world-class athlete, we would be more concerned about what happened to him versus him being a freedom fighter for the liberation of his people, a person that was able in his own way to take on the juggernaut that told his people generations early that you have no rights that the white man is bound to respect by law. But y'all know where Dred Scott is buried at in St. Louis, Missouri? He's a little bit outside of Ferguson. I went to Dred Scott's grave outside of Ferguson, Missouri, several years ago. The past is never past, man. If we had an actual government, the B1 government, if we actually had some code, things would be different. We don't have that. So they could kill as many as they want to because nobody will pay attention or bring attention or address a grievance or demand some type of reparations. Like, you know, when immigrants used to get lynched in America, like let's say Chinese immigrants, Italian immigrants will be lynched or hung, you know, without due process. The United States government had to pay restitution or reparations to their country of origin. If you was a Chinese immigrant that was hanged or lynched, the United States had to give some money to China because they belong to some organization, some sovereign entity. You know, it was a time when they lynched all those Italians down in New Orleans because they accused these Italians of killing, I think, Police Chief Hennessy. They say his last words were, "Them Dagos shot me," or "Dago shot me." Dago is slurred for Italian, whatever. So I think they held the trial for these Italians. People don't understand that the oldest mafia family is not in New York or Chicago. The oldest Italian mafia family is New Orleans. The oldest mafia in this country is located in New Orleans. You know, so you had these Italians that ran the harbor, the docks, whatever. They went to court. I believe the people were not satisfied with the outcome or how they wanted blood, so they were lynched. And I believe the United States had to pay restitution to Italy for the loss of these citizens that were from their country of origin. I don't know, but HBO did a movie about it. I don't know all the details like I used to, but what I'm doing is throwing out breadcrumbs for y'all to take a look. It's all online. Get these breadcrumbs and check it out. But we not serious, man. Because, like, you know, Dr. Frances Cress Wells, I didn't know she was having issues with the school next door. I think it was a Jewish school. The playground, the noise. She had noise complaints. But I didn't know about it. Well, what about all these so-called revolutionaries that love Dr. Francis Cress Wells and the RBG, hardcore RBG dudes? I'm not gonna call you out, but you know who you are. Y'all in the DMV to my this and that. Where were y'all at when she needed help with that? Now she's dead. Like it was like, well, Alton, I mean, whatever. We still don't know what happened to Malcolm Latif Shabazz, Malcolm's grandson. This is how weak black people that we as a people are. We can't get no answers to Sandra Bland. You talking about Rasheen Carter down in Mississippi? Another Carter got killed in Mississippi under very questionable suspect circumstances. Like his mom said, she was on the phone when he was being chased around by white men in pickup trucks down in some town he wasn't from in Mississippi. He said he went to the police station. They wouldn't help him. They caught him on camera in the forest. A month later, they found his skeletal remains scattered throughout the forest. And Ben Crump came down there and said he was murdered. And y'all can say what y'all want about Ben Crump. When Ben Crump come, the cameras come following. So he was able to give some light on the Rasheen Carter thing, but it's been going on for a while in Mississippi. There's a lot of cases. My YouTube been removing my case about Frederick Jermaine Carter that I did, and I got back up. I did an article. I was the only organization to do an actual investigation about what happened to Frederick Jermaine Carter. And now they're trying to erase that from their history. They're trying to erase that from YouTube. They're trying to marginalize that I did with no money. I want to do it because, like Alton, I believe that right is right and wrong is wrong. You got to have your own moral compass. And I did it without any fanfare. It exhausted me mentally because I got an education on how things really work. And our people are our biggest enemies. A lot of people, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. A lot of folks like the way things are because it benefits a small group of them. They're not for us. Alton was for us, but the people who made sure to marginalize Alton and his effectiveness, they work for them. You can't serve two masters. That boule stuff is real. But they, I'm just, man, I ain't want to stay on this topic for this long. Like people say, well, did Gregory die strange? Well, why don't you do a people's investigation? All this talking, don't worry about Brother Ron. Y'all do me for I ain't gonna even that. Don't worry about me. This is maybe like some type of YouTube videos. Oh, hey, Brother Ron, man, we don't do some gematria on Brother Ron. I said, Brother Ron dead. What they gonna do with Brother Ron gematria? All this is like doing an autopsy. I'm dead. It don't benefit me to do the autopsy. You gotta save my life. What I'm saying, people do like we just be weird, but we are so traumatized. Like we gonna connect the dots, la la la, connect the dots, la 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 la, like it's Pee Wee Playhouse. Y'all strange, but anyway, we all strange. He says a lot of. Yeah, because 60 years ago, black folks were married. Both my grandparents. Now you got single great grandmothers in their 40s. Robeson was manipulated by damn people. We all been we've been manipulated by these people. Y'all, a lot of us manipulated by Democrats. Where's the Black First Party at? Like I said, where was Alton's backup? He said he's attorney at war, but whose army? What Navy got his back? Where was his Marines that help his back? See what I'm saying? It's like you have the English language, right? English language versus a vernacular. Vernacular is a vernacular, but the English language has institutions, an army, a navy, a military to back it up. You're going to speak this language or else. You're going to give black folks justice or else. Okay, what's the or else? There's no or else. That's an inside joke. Because when you got a bluff like that, you don't got nothing really going for us. We are a troubled people, man. But I don't put that on the ancestor. He ain't know no better, man. You know better. You like the BLM thing, the Black Lives Matter, Black Lesbian Mentions, Limited Liability Corporation, LLC. You had two versions of Black Lives Matter that people don't talk about. The grassroots Black Lives Matter started in Ferguson, their version with the Darren King D SEALs, and they got murked. They eliminated these people. He had several activists that got murked. Where's the people's investigation to what happened to Darren King D SEAL, who was been proven that he was being followed and targeted by law enforcement for being an outspoken black man, and he was outspoken Taurus. His zodiac was Taurus. He was like Malcolm. He was very outspoken. He had charisma, and he was a problem because he was exposing BLM LLC. He had to go. Now you got Cori Bush in Congress who would benefit from the LLC. Is she saying let's lead an investigation of what happened to all these black activists that were killed in curious ways, shot up and burnt out in cars in Ferguson and St. Louis area? See what I'm saying? Like, I can't take us seriously. We're not serious people. We only serious about sports. We only care about Lakers and Dub Nation and crap like that. Or the NFL draft. Why they ain't drafting enough players for HBCU? Well, why you not at the HBCU? You go so concerned about HBCUs, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Primetime. If they draft that many black people, they drafted a lot of black football players in the first round, in the top 10, from my understanding. I didn't watch that mess. It's a game. Now, he didn't know. It was very much a surprise. He was taken aback. He was very moved by the gesture. This is why his people gave up a standing ovation when I gave him the award. Yeah, it's Mercury Retrograde. Yeah, Mercury Gatorade. Okay, let me. I said I'm gonna do this 2-hour show, right? Let me see something. Oh, let me share something I did. A lot of controversy. Oh, but I think before that, though, before I share that, let me find. This is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I ain't gonna keep y'all too long, but I want to touch on some things, man. Touch on some things. Cause we need to talk. Let's talk about Mamie Till. Let's talk about Carolyn Bryant, Dunham. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that can be. Let's talk about her. Let's talk about Carolyn, the original Karen. You care? Talk about the original Karen. Carolyn Bryant, the original Karen. Let's see. This is We All Be News Free Dixie for 21st century. We all be. Let me talk about that. The Mercury Retrograde Gatorade. Y'all busy in the chat thing. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. It's so much I'm trying to feed my people. Feed me. Let's see. Let me touch on this because all right, let's touch on this. Let's get this out the way. All right, and we all know allegedly Carolyn Bryant, Dunham, the lady, the Karen, who accused Mamie Till of improper advances towards her person, who got this man murked, unalive. She recently made a transition. Supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not because I don't know where's the body. I don't know how we prove that Carolyn Bryant died at 88. Now she was allegedly in hospice care. They was moving her around like she was in witness protection from North Carolina to Kentucky to Louisiana. I understand she passed to Louisiana allegedly, which what y'all don't understand is that white folks, 3Ks, white folks, they good at faking the deaths of their celebrated degenerates. Don't let me get started on Adolf Hitler. I don't believe Hitler died in that bunk back in April 45. He probably went to South America. Got Operation Odyssey. You got Operation Paperclip. He could have went to Antarctica. But there was a case of a white man who killed 2 black men who were hitchhiking or they was traveling to look for work back in the 60s down to Mississippi. His name was James Ford Seal. For years, white folks said he was dead, and he was very much alive. One of the victims' brother, who was a Vietnam veteran, came to Mississippi to look for him with a documentary crew from Canada, I think the BBC, and they found this white man, but white folks said, oh, he's dead. James Ford Seal is dead. He's been dead for years now. He's been dead. The man was very much alive, walking around, living his life, living his best life, living his Klan life. So the law caught up with him because there was pressure applied. And so he died in prison. He almost got out of prison, James Ford Seal, but they upheld the conviction. And so he died in prison a little bit over 10 years ago, something like that. Not that long ago, something like that. But anyway, I don't know if she's still alive or not, but I do know this. It doesn't change the fact that Emmett Till been dead since August of 55. And a lot of folks are upset that she didn't face so-called justice. It's just us. And my thing is, nobody leaves this world alive, right? Even though I struggle and strive, I'll never leave this world alive. Some shit like Hank Williams singing. Anyway, something like that. I'll struggle and strive, never leave the world alive. Some stuff. I like Hank Williams. I like him like I like Biggie. I love Biggie. I love Hank Williams singing. Great lyricists, storytellers. But anyway, a lot of people, they mad, they upset, and rightfully so, at Carolyn Bryant. I had a chance to talk to some of Emmett Till's relatives, and not all of them are on the same page as it related to Carolyn Bryant Dunham. Some of them was saying, like, let God handle that. She's still one of God's children. Let God handle it. Karma. There's some people said, no, we want to bring it to her while she's still around. I don't care if we got to have her in prison hospice. Let her die in prison in disgrace for what she did to Bobo, Emmett Till. This nickname, I think, was Bobo. And here's my thing. Carolyn Bryant, yes, she was guilty, but there's enough guilt to go around. Emmett's family got him killed, too. Emmett Till's family got him killed. It's not just Carolyn Bryant got him killed. Emmett Lewis Till's his cousins got him killed. And let me explain what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying that it was intentional, but they messed up because the incident in question happened on that Wednesday, right? I think it was Wednesday it happened. They had about 3 or 4 days to get out of town, but this is what they didn't do. They didn't tell Emmett's great uncle, Mose Wright, what allegedly happened, the incident that happened at the Bryant store. Had they told Mose Wright what happened, you best believe that not only Emmett, but everybody in that household would have been in Memphis by nighttime on their way to Chicago. Nobody would have stayed behind. But because Emmett nor his cousins told his great uncle about some incident with the white lady, the white man, the brothers J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant was married to Carolyn Bryant. They was able to come to Emmett's great uncle's home and get him out of the home. Now, Emmett's great uncle and his aunt, they begged to spare the life of Emmett. They said, we will pay you if you leave him alone, or just beat him, or we'll beat him. Don't do. And, I think J.W. Milam, because J.W. Milam was a little bit more aggressive than Roy Bryant, his brother. J.W. Milam was a World War II veteran, and he was known as a hard ass and all this stuff, hard on black folk. But yet they benefited from black people going to their stores and working their land, which is crazy. Black folks empowered these white supremacists. But I think they asked the uncle, how old was he? He said something, he was like 60-something. He said, well, if you want him to be 60-something, then you better, stand down. They threatened him. So he backed down. He was hoping that, they'd scare him, maybe beat him a little bit and bring him back, but that That never happened. They tortured Emmett, and they used black people. He had black people that helped kidnap and torture our brother Emmett. And is alleged there was a black man that shot Emmett in the head, that delivered the kill shot to Emmett. And I interviewed Johnny B. Thomas down in Glendora, Mississippi. It's a little small village hamlet. He founded and runs the Mamie Till Interpreted Center or something like that. And I went there with Sister Margaret Block, a civil rights legend, whose brother was Sam Block, and she's a righteous ancestor. Now, I miss Sister Margaret, but she took me down there. She always tell me, Ron, we got to get out of Tallahatchie County before sundown. Got to get the hell out of here. Brother Ron, she had a little rat. You got to get the hell out of here, out of Tallahatchie County. So, but she used to take me around Mississippi to civil rights sites. But it alleged that his father, I think his father's name was Henry Lee Loggins, shot Emmett because they interviewed him. I think the FBI, he was in a nursing home in Ohio. He passed on. But I think they were saying he was the one that shot Emmett in the head. I think his name was Henry Lee Loggins. But Johnny Thomas, he was very candid. Like he said, even though black folks participated, and I got the interview on my We All Be TV channel, that they didn't really have a choice. They were slaves. I mean, everybody got a choice. You could say, I ain't gonna do it, well, we're gonna kill you. All right, I'll just kill me, because I can't kill this boy. But they went along with it. You had black boys, black men, whatever, males, they'd kidnap and kill him. He also, by his cousins and himself not telling the great uncle about what happened, they had like 3 or 4 days to be able to get out of town. And they, it's sad. So there's enough blame to go around, because Roy Bryant was not even on the premises when all this went down. And I believe you had black people that was at the store hanging around, for that store, black folks would be playing checkers and drinking Coca-Cola, whatever they doing, hanging around. So I think you had some black people that were hanging around the store telling Roy Bryant about the incident with Emmett and his wife. So you had all this stuff going on, but black folk, we our own worst enemies sometimes. Like, Emmett Demon, he signed his death warrant when he didn't tell his uncle what went down. Whatever the incident was, where he whistled because he was stuttering, where he touched her hand, or so whatever he did, or whatever happened, he didn't deserve to die. But my thing is, we got to look at the fact that it's not just on Carolyn Bryant. Now, she helped initiate, but for my research, it was black folks at the store that told Roy Bryant exactly. And the thing about the Mamie Till thing is interesting, is that people told me, old timers from that area, they said, well, Emmett, Emmett actually did mess around with Carolyn Bryant, supposedly. I don't believe that. You got old, it's weird. I be meeting people from these towns. Reverend George Lee got killed before Emmett. He was shot in the face with buckshot in a drive-by shooting while he was driving home. Reverend George Lee was very much an activist, I believe, in the NAACP in Belzoni, Mississippi, back in the 50s. And Medgar Evers investigated, but people told me, well, he really got killed because of something else. I said, look at all these rumors, surrounding me every day. I don't know what to believe, but I know that Emmett did not deserve to die. Now, I also heard another thing from a guy who was a white man who's a reformed Klansman. He used to be a Klansman, but now he go on speaking engagement with this guy named Daryl, talking about being against racism. But he's from like Indianola. That's where B.B. King is from. That's where the B.B. King Museum is located. Indianola, Mississippi. And I think Carolyn Bryant's from Indianola, Mississippi. That he was saying, like, she used to be some type of pageant queen, beauty queen, whatever. But that she was known for being a flirt. Like, he was kind of like almost alluding that she used to flirt with black guys, if not more. So I don't know what to make of it. I do know that they vilified Emmett by bringing up his father, Lewis Till, who was executed by the United States Army during World War II for allegedly raping and killing white women in Europe. And that's suspect because the white women in court would not even identify him or his co-defendant, Fred McMurray, as the ones who raped and kidnapped and even killed some of them. So his father was railroaded, and the son was denied any semblance of justice by the system that benefited the people who did it, that kidnapped and unalived them. So it's deep because like Emmett mom, the only way she could identify her son's body was by his father's ring that she gave him with the initials of LT on it. Because at first they were saying that wasn't Emmett. There was a grown man, an older man, an actual full-grown man that they found. You gotta understand, they find a lot of bodies in those waterways in Mississippi. I remember Sister Margaret Block was telling me that the late great civil rights activist Amzie Moore had contacted the State Department about all these black soldiers being found in the waterways of Mississippi back in the day. Like you find like black soldiers in uniform dead in the water, in the lakes and the ponds and the rivers. And as soon as he got the State Department involved, they stopped finding no bodies allegedly. But when they were looking for Mickey Swerner and James Chaney and Andrew Goodman, the 3 civil rights workers that disappeared, that was kidnapped by the Klan and law enforcement, the Mississippi burning case, they kept on finding body parts of dead black men in these rivers and swamps. And they said, well, it's not the 2 Jews and the black dude. See, if it was only James Chaney that got kidnapped and killed, they wouldn't try to look for no missing black man. James Chaney, my understanding, I think his grandfather was being hassled for his land. And he went to the store and never came back. See, there was a commonplace occurrence for black people to have the men in their life disappear without a trace. Not because they was Rolling Stone, but because they dared to stand up against the white power system, because the white power system wanted something that they refused to sell or give. So they took their lives and destabilized the black family. So I believe, if I'm correct, that his grandfather, I believe, was disappeared before he was disappeared. And James Chaney actually had a daughter that he never met. His daughter was like 10 or 11 days old when her father disappeared on Father's Day, never to be seen again alive. And I interviewed his daughter, who's a retired nurse down in Mississippi, on the 50th anniversary of them exhuming the bodies of Mickey Swerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney. And the interview was on this channel. And to this day, they still shoot at the grave of James Chaney. You can find bullet holes in his tombstone down in Mississippi. It's like they were shooting at the sign by the Tallahatchie River at the spot where they pulled out Emmett's body. Now they got a bulletproof sign at that spot. It's out the Tallahatchie River, right? Anyway, yeah, it's enough blame to go around. You know, Roy Bryant, her ex-husband, you know, around the 30th anniversary of the Mamie Till kidnapping and murder, or lynching, as y'all call it, you had national news entities like the Good Morning America shows. They tracked Roy Bryant because what happened to them, like his brother and him were paid by Look magazine to confess what they did to Mamie Till. And when they did their confession, like, they got away with murder and kidnap because they cared to assassinate Mamie Till by, you know, bringing up the sad case of what happened to his father during World War II. And so they had to leave Mississippi. Blacks and whites turned their back on the Bryants and on J.W. Mallard because, you know, what's crazy is that some of the white folks wanted to convict J.W. Mallard and Roy Bryant, but they changed their mind. I actually interviewed a guy whose stepfather was a sheriff deputy during that trial. he wrote his dissertation on the trial. He interviewed some of the jurors and stuff like that. He's a white man who lived in Florida at the time, and I interviewed. It's on this channel, and he talked about how he interviewed the prosecutors, I believe the judge. He interviewed a lot of people that were involved in the case, and he voted for Obama. He was for Obama the first time. I know he talked about that, but what happened to that case was that a lot of white people knew that what Roy Bryant and J.W. Mallard done was horrible. They did not agree with them killing that black boy like that. No matter what he said, they didn't agree with it. But what happened was they like how that so-called outside agitators were portraying Mississippi as a backwards, uncivilized place. So it was like a us against them mentality. But when Brian and his brother J.W. Malcolm confessed in Look magazine to William Bradford Huey, it changed their minds. That, man, you embarrassing us, so y'all got to leave. So they got forced out of Mississippi when they were struggling. See, the thing about it, they didn't really get away with it. They had to pay a price. They lost their standing in their hometown, all this stuff. They lost their businesses. They struggled. I think Roy Bryant at one point became a welder, but the welding job caused him to go blind or legally blind. I don't know. They suffered. They just didn't get away with it. That's what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. They suffered. They paid. It's not for us to say we should punish people because they got punished. Like the fact that Carolyn Bryant was not free to go how she wanted to go out in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like she was a recluse. She was living like a hermit because all eyes was on her. They knew what she did. She knew what she did. And I read that book she wrote, that manuscript. I read it. And it's a bunch of BS. Because she wants you to feel sorry for her, but she do talk about her struggles. Like, she been a widow. She had children. I think she had 2 sons die on her. I know one son died not that long after Roy Bryant died. Her first husband, who she divorced. So they went through some hardships. They didn't get away. I just want people to know she didn't get away with it like we think she did. I mean, even the way she died, she went through some suffering, allegedly, she died. But there's enough blame to go around with the Emmett thing, man. There really is. And it's unfortunate. So y'all can take what y'all want to take with that. And I did a lot of Emmett Till shows. Like I said, I interviewed Johnny B. Thomas, whose father allegedly shot Emmett in the head. Henry Lee Loggins, I think that's his father's name. He passed on years ago. It's like I be doing things. I'm kind of like a trendsetter. Like I do things earlier before anybody. And I'm friends with Keith Beauchamp, documentary filmmaker who documentary about the Till case. He was real close to Mamie Till Bradley or Mosley. Emmett's mother, they were real close. And he did a documentary about Till in the early 2000s, which motivated the FBI and the Justice Department to reopen the case on Emmett Lewis Till. And they exhumed his body to verify that it was him indeed in the ground. Like, because I was saying that a lot of people were saying, well, that's not Emmett Till's. That body they found in the river looked too old. It's like a grown man. It's not a 14-year-old kid. I think that body was really deteriorated, even though it wasn't in the water that long, because of the way they tortured him and all this stuff. They tied him around. They tied him to a 70-pound cotton gin fan. They already beat him up. They tortured him. They shot him in the head. They did all types of horrible things to Emmett. And then this is summertime in Mississippi in August, the hottest month in the year. So his body deteriorated rapidly in the elements, even though he was in the water for a couple of days. But they verified that it was Emmett in the ground. And Miss Till died, Mamie Till Bradley. I don't know how many last names she got, but she died January 6, 2003. So she's been dead for 20 years. And then Carolyn Bryant dies 20 years later. We know January 6th for something else now, but Mamie became a righteous ancestor January 6, 2003. And the thing about it with Emmett is interesting. I always tell people about Fred Hampton Sr., to me, people still don't get it. That Judas and the Black Messiah, it's kind of like I wish they would have had younger actors playing Fred Hampton and the so-called Judas, which I can't think he was Judas if he never was down for the cause to begin with. So how could he really betray Fred Hampton when he was never really on board at any point with Chairman Fred? But Chairman Fred Hampton's mom used to babysit Mamie Till. They used to be neighbors. And I had spoke with Fred Hampton's mom on the phone and thanked her for her son, for the sacrifices and for raising such an amazing son. Because I was going to I interviewed his brother, but before I interviewed the brother, they all gone to be righteous ancestor stars now. I talked to Fred Hampton's mom for a brief moment and thanked her and appreciate and let her know my appreciation for the sacrifices of her family. Because they actually still shoot at Fred Hampton's tombstone too, down in Louisiana. I mean, why are they afraid of dead black men? Think you're gonna resurrect like Jesus? I guess Jesus was a black man. It's a lot to get into. It's a lot to think about, to digest. And I'm just here to provoke that. So I'll move on. This is We All Be, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm trying to keep it in a reasonable time. Maybe I just offer too much in the title because I go on tangents. Like I said, everything ain't rehearsed, just off the top of the dome a lot of times. Trying to see something. But thank you all who donate and will continue to donate and support this channel. I like to do more shows like this, but you know, it got to be a demand for these things, man, because they really do their best to undermine what I'm doing. They don't always send out the notifications. And I feel like I'm being blocked on certain levels by certain things, and people always trying to offer their advice on this and that. But what else I want to do? See something. Okay, let's talk about the secret relationship between black leaders and white women. You know, I got in trouble, I guess, good trouble. I call it good trouble. I don't really care at this point about what people say about me like that. I have developed a lot of thick skin since getting cursed out by Dick Gregory on a regular basis. It helps you to develop a thick skin. Like he told me, we are at war. We are soldiers in the army. If you don't like the war, if you don't like the assignment, get the hell out the army. So I'm part of the creatively maladjusted army, right? So this is what I do. I wrote something to the effect. I'm going to share this. And actually, I look at it as therapy. People like when we help people call in on the show, this show probably 6 hours long. It's already long, but it'd be 6 hours long if I have people call in. But who knows? I've been having fun talking to people offline about different things and stuff like that. So let me see. Yeah, I wrote this. Now I was in the past of a great man, Harry Belafonte. So I wrote that, right? Can y'all see it? I said something to the effect, and now they want to play games with my Wi-Fi. Did Sidney Poitier, 94, and Harry Belafonte, 96, live so long because they were married to white women? Now, that's a question I'm asking, right? I know I said R2C2H2 says. I should say R2C2H2 acts, right? Ebony and Ivory, excuse me, that was the hashtags. Stay saying what others think, what others just think, right? Guess who's staying at the dinner? Jungle Fever. Now, it was like, to me, I don't have the biggest following. I have a dedicated follow. You know what's fun about me? There's a lot of people that follow me. They lurk on my social media pages, but they never really like or share anything until I say something that triggers them emotionally. Like Chris Rock says, selective outrage. So people lost their crap when I said that. And all I'm doing, I'm asking a question. And maybe I'm not really being serious, but what's amazing was the responses I got from asking that question. And I'm going to read some of the responses, right? I think they're interesting. I won't keep y'all long. Let's see. On my Facebook, really interesting. I got some on the YouTube channel too, but okay. Tammy Thomas said, my great uncle lived to 99 and he married a black woman. Move on from this. So my sister, great supporter, Sister Barbara Hudson Williams. My grandfather was married to a black woman. He died at 103. That's excellent. Then Celeste Price said, could be because they drank heavily when younger. They'll preserve your body if it don't kill the liver. Okay, interesting observation. Then Kathy M. Carrington, my dad died short of his 100 and black wife. Then Daryl Weston said, no, if that was the case, then Gregory Hines would have lived until his 90s as well. Maybe it has something to do with their Caribbean heritage. I don't know. But I think the real answer as to why lies in the fact that it was something special about that greatest generation or beginning of the silent gen. I know many members of that generation who are living into their 90s, and none of them were married to any white women or white men for that matter. So Billy Andy applied. Okay, Bill, this guy named Billy Andy III replied, to Daryl Weston. Agreed. I have family members who had lived into their late 80s and their 90s and were not married to white women. Then Tania Harad, whatever. Just get you a white woman who cares. Wasn't your mama and daddy black? Now, mind you, I'm asking a question. And now they're trying to attack me as a person. I don't know these people. So Harold Scott of the Tim Priest, ha ha ha, laughing emoji. Then Ronnie Lake, this is really sad that you would think that. Yeah, okay. Then Renee Black, huh? Renee, come on. I asked a question. Why is all this, huh? I'm I gotta talk. But then Linda Wynn Rory, she said, probably so. Then Mary Sunshine, I know Mary. Not that well, but I know her. I met her offline. She's a real person. So this is absolutely disgusting, disgraceful, willful ignorance with a huge dose of black woman hate. Black men who are married to black women actually live longer because they are lynched, hung, or drugged by a horse, truck, or a firing squad of a white mob for being married to a white woman. My neighbor across from me lived to be 103 and was up and active to the day he transpired. He was married to his wife, who gave birth and life to all 7 of his children for 70 years, to the day she died before him. Okay, different generation though. I would say this, like I said, 60 years ago, both set of my grandparents were married. How many people get married as black now? I don't know. It's black folks still get married, but it's different era, different time, different programming. Now, Dr. Callie Hurd, Dr. Mom is my mom. If you look at the post, it was a question, not a statement. Keyword, I asked a question. Did not say this is what I believe, yet these people that don't know me are attacking my character. These folks that don't know me well are questioning my intelligence. What? I just asked a question. See, this is selective outrage, as Chris Rock is talking about. This is BS. Because like Baba Dick Gregory would say, my truth does not need to be validated by your ignorance. That's all they. I mean, why they care? Why all this outrage? Fake outrage to me. This is what my mom said in my defense, Dr. Mom. If you look at the post, it was a question, not a statement. It's just, what do you think, to allow those who want to converse to do so? I can't understand the negativity toward the mailman. He is only delivering the message. The universe exists because of those who extend the thought process. The best thinkers are those who dare and don't get tied up in groupthink. Ronald is a motivator and innovator. He has proven his voice and works time and time. He is an advocate for African Americans and give his life and giving back so that we can learn our deep-rooted history and learn how to love self and one's culture. Ronald, I thank you for your service and going through the storms and not losing focus on your purpose. You have always been ahead of your time. Continue to keep on producing. Okay. One day they will understand what you already know. Take the high road and don't look back. The best is yet to come, I believe, and soon others will see what awesome works you have accomplished and planted. Sister Thea is working. Allow no one to allow you to doubt you. History will show you you were right on the right side. I already know I'm on the right side. These people are crazy. I up here went in debt. I be going in debt, giving out awards, putting on shows to educate Black people about who we are as a people. I made the fool's errand 20-something years ago to dedicate my life to serving my people. How can you serve a people that don't know how to appreciate themselves, to love themselves? How can I expect them to love me or give me grace when they don't give themselves grace or love? So, I mean, it is what it is. Then my auntie, Lizzie, I don't think a lot of people read the whole post. It states, saying what others just think, meaning this is not his opinion, but what others just think. Please stop being so quick to shoot someone down. We love that. You know, people were quick to shoot Dr. King down. Black ministers celebrated when Dr. King was shot down in Memphis. Though Reverend Wright told us, this is Obama's pastor, Jeremiah Wright told us that. Then Sister Betty Jones, thank you, Brother Ron. You are greatly appreciated. Keep doing your thing, your given assignment. Then it's Chandra Wright character. She's a character. Don't even know who this cat is. Man, TV got you. I just asked a question. Then Chandra Wright again. She must not have no life. You're kidding, right? And then SJ. They probably ate healthier. Okay. Carolyn Cleveland, she posts Lance Reddick, you know, the guy from The Wire, and the John Wick movies, he died. He died young, you know, and he was married to a white woman. Then she posted something about Twitch boss, you know, his widow, Allison Hoker. She just got half of his estate, from my understanding. He was married to a white woman. He died young. Under questionable circumstance. Here go Chandra Wright again. Really? Laughing emojis. Just keep such thoughts to yourself. Let's just keep assuming you're an intelligent person. I already know that you're not an intelligent person because I asked the question. I didn't say I believe these things. So you've been exposed. We don't believe you. You need more people. But I do believe that you expose yourself in being a non-thinking person. And it's the Dario Key person. Some of these total wastes of chemicals need to just vanish. Man, can we just agree to disagree without being so disagreeable and mean-spirited? Then Mary Sunshine, my man always come through with the fire. No, you haven't. This is silly. This is asinine. I asked the question, right? People are in their feelings about stuff. I understand that, all right? I understand. I think it's love folks I could read. Like, people read these things, are very upset. They wanted to report people to the Facebook Gestapo. I said, don't report these people. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in, I don't believe in really censoring people like that. I believe there's room for everybody to have a say at the table. But it's really sad that you read these things. And if I took these seriously, I really would be sad. I don't, because I do the work. And the proof is in the pudding. I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And people have benefited from the work, and people have taken my work and not giving me credit for my work. And I got to go be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning to mop floors, and then later on to wash toilets. Because people say they love me, but do they really love me? I had asked somebody at my job that worked at the utilities place. I said, could you do my job? Could we switch places? Would you be able to mop a floor or clean a toilet? And this woman said, hell no. She said, I said, what type of job you do? She said, I'm an engineer. I said, I can't do your job, but if my daddy raised me, I probably could do your job because he's an engineer. But that's okay. Let's talk about. Let me post this. Y'all do know that a lot of Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier, their first wives were black women. I know Sidney Poitier. I think in his first wife, they were very involved in the movement. Like they used to host get-togethers with some of their famous friends and influential friends at their home. Malcolm X would come over. Lorraine Hansberry would come over. Lorraine Hansberry was a famous playwright. She wrote A Raisin in the Sun. She was married to a white man. I think she was married to a white Jewish man. And Malcolm critiqued her. And then she came back at Malcolm, said, put some respect on my name. And Malcolm said, I put respect on your name. And Lorraine Hansberry and Malcolm X, they got the same birthday of May 19th. And they also died in 1965. So they were born May 19th. Lorraine died in 1965 like Malcolm. She died, I want to say she died like a month before Malcolm, maybe January 65. I'm not gonna look that up because I'll let y'all look it up. Y'all correct me because people love to correct me as a black man. And it's okay. I'm used to it now. But I remember looking at a documentary by Harry Belafonte. I'm gonna talk about Harry Belafonte. I'm gonna squeeze this in. And I think after I talk about all this, I'm through for the night. But I remember looking at this documentary by Harry Belafonte, and he was talking about his first wife, who was a black woman. And he told her that I feel like they're watching me, like somebody's after me, like the government is after me. Something to that effect, like the government. And she didn't believe him. She said, whatever, it's in your head, Negro. Go bring it home the bacon. It's in your head. Nobody's chasing you, Harry. And come to find out, we all know now the government was watching him. Somebody's watching me. They were watching him because he was very much involved in the movement. He was a major fundraiser for Dr. King and the movement. He raised a lot of money for Dr. King's movement. He was the one that took out a life insurance policy on Dr. King so Coretta and the children can have something. Because Dr. King, for the most part, I already knew as early as 1963, that he was a dead man walking. The reason why I say that, because I was looking at a documentary about Dr. King and Walter Fauntroy, who was a trusted Dr. King lieutenant. He was like a part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, became a congressman later on. Reverend Walter Fauntroy said that they was watching the JFK funeral procession in D.C. from a building. And he said Dr. King saw JFK's casket or hearse past or whatever. And he said that if they could do that to a president, then I won't make it to 40. He told Walter Fauntroy allegedly that if they could do that to a president, then I won't make it to 40. Dr. King actually thought that they was going to get him at the Poor People campaign in D.C. He never saw Memphis coming. That they created the Memphis thing to bring him here to get neutralized. He thought they were going to get him in D.C. But they detoured that route. They couldn't bring him to D.C. because imagine if Dr. King brought 1 million people to D.C., not just black people, but you got Native Americans from the reservation. You got poor white folks from the Appalachia, whatever. You got former Klan people becoming revolutionaries for the people. He was bringing folks together. They couldn't have that. And also, they was coming to D.C. you look at the Poor People campaign now with Reverend William Barber. And I'm going to put some respect on Reverend William Barber's name. He's actually a gifted communicator. He's a hell of a speaker. But this Poor People campaign that guy is not the same that Dr. King had. Their Poor People campaign didn't have no corporate sponsors. I'm not judging Reverend William Barber. When I saw him in May of last year, he did a rally at the Civil Rights Museum for the Poor People campaign rally that was coming that June in D.C. That's why I first saw Justin Pearson speaking in person, and he was great. He's great at what he do. He's very gifted speaker. But now, like I look at it now, it hits different now. But that's another story. But once he got through with his event, I think Reverend William Bible was on his way back to his nice hotel in his stretch SUV limousine, I think. Nothing wrong with traveling in luxury, but is this the poor people campaign? I digress. But Dr. King was not bringing people to DC to have a good time or for they're gonna have a tent city. They were shutting down business as usual. They're gonna bring DC. They will come to DC to disrupt business, to disrupt the government. You know, when the March on Washington happened, it was a march, it was a rally, it was a parade. It was not a revolution. DC was a sundown town. When they did the march on Washington, they had to be out of DC by sundown. It had nothing to do with if that was revolutionary. There was such thing as a curfew or a sundown. We're not gonna stand down if we're revolutionary. That was no revolution. Y'all confuse marching and rallies and parades with revolution. And speech making with revolution. There was none of that in 63. But 68 would have been a whole different animal because of people going against the war in Vietnam. Dr. King coming out at Riverside Church, April 4th, 67, saying, I'm against the war. You know, here you got you supposed to be a friend of Lyndon B. Johnson, LBJ all the way, right? LBJ, Mr. Civil Rights, the Texan, passing civil rights legislation, Civil Rights Act of 64, Voting Rights Act, the Great Society Program, affirmative action. And yet, he thought Dr. King was one of his soldiers. So LBJ couldn't believe how you gonna bite the hand that feeds him. But MLK had a moral compass, and he realized he was integrating his people into a burning house. He said, if we're gonna be in a burning house, let's be like firemen and put the fire out. But they put him out instead of him putting out the fire. But Harry Belafonte raised a lot of money for Dr. King and his movement. And the problem with Dr. King is weird that he got this $100 million statue of him likeness in DC and all this stuff. But he spent most of his adult life was trying to raise the type of money that they building monuments about him. He could never get enough money to fund and finance this movement to empower the people. He couldn't get the corporate sponsorships of this new. I'm talking out my mouth. I don't know if they got corporate sponsorship, but somebody's got their money behind this updated version of the Poor People Campaign. But anyway, Dr. King didn't have such luck. And they killed him for it. That's why, he was, dangerous, because they wouldn't let him live to be an old man. And they held Belafonte, from my understanding, he helped select the suit for Dr. King to lie and stay in, I believe. And he helped arrange the funeral. He was very close to the King family, so it was sad to see that allegedly he was disinvited from Coretta's homegoing because of his political stances. And Harry always been Harry. He always been the one who spoke his mind. From I seen footage of him as a young man. He took on the mob. The mob wanted him to perform in a casino in Las Vegas. This back in the early 50s, I think it was 52. He said, if I can't stay here, I won't perform. I want out of my contract. And I believe the mob told him the only way you leave Vegas without performance in a box. But, Harry Belafonte allegedly had some connections that allowed him to get out of there, out of that contract arrangement. And I believe he had a black casino back in the day in Vegas. Vegas was like being in Mississippi or Alabama back in the day. Look at that Sammy Davis Jr. documentary, I think, about Black Vegas or something. But anyway, there's a lot to get through. But this man made sure that the family could eat. Had that life insurance policy for King, and he did help them organize the funeral, help pick out the suit for Dr. King, the Lion State. And this is how you do Harry. And Harry always been his own. I respect that. But what's interesting about Harry Belafonte? And I'm gonna wrap it up with Harry, because y'all can look online, look at all the amazing wordy tributes for Harry Belafonte. But let me wrap it up. And I can tell you about my brief Harry Belafonte experience. And I wish I had more to give on that note, but I did have a brief experience with the Harry Belafonte experience. Let me see. I'm trying to see something. It was a guy named J. Richard Kennedy. Look him up. J. Richard Kennedy at one point was Harry Belafonte's manager. He was a mentor to a lot of people. He was big. I think he was connected to Frank Sinatra. It said, let me read what it says. J. Richard Kennedy was an author, screenwriter, composer, publisher, FBI spy, FBI spy, FBI spy, representative, and Harry Belafonte's business manager. Like how they see that Mercury retrograde or Mercury Gatorade. As soon as I say Harry Belafonte's business manager, is what they do to me. In the 60s, in the 1960s, he worked for Frank Sinatra. In his 70s, he left entertainment and started a psychotherapy clinic called the Center for Human Problems and was accused of practicing psychotherapy without a license in a cultist environment. This dude was MK Ultra, working in the entertainment industry. Think about mind control. Operation Mockingbird. You got the U.S. intelligence control the news media to this day. Give them scripts to say. You got the Defense Intelligence Agency giving Hollywood money for movies, to finance movies, to promote an agenda. I believe even the creator of the X-Files was visited by government people, telling him to tone down some stuff in the X-Files. You know what's interesting about the X-Files? It was a spin-off show called The Lone Gunman. I think it was like only 1 or 2 seasons. But The Lone Gunman premiered March of 2001. The first episode about an airplane being hijacked, computer system of an airline, and they programmed the airplane to fly into the World Trade Center. This is March of 2001. I don't know if you could find The Lone Gunman, like plural, MEN. It should still be on YouTube, the pilot episode, the first episode. But it's about an airliner having this computer system hijacked and being controlled to fly into the World Trade Building, or World Trade Center. I can't make this up, folks. This is a spinoff of the X-Files. This thing called predictive programming, like The Simpsons. I won't be surprised if some of the creators of these shows have U.S. intelligence background. Even the guy who was Seth MacFarlane, what's the guy named created Family Guy and all this other stuff, the Cleveland show. He allegedly, because he's from Rhode Island, I think, he allegedly supposed to be on an airplane that got hijacked on 9/11. They got hijacked from Boston Airport. He said he overslept that day. Next thing you know, he doing all these cartoon shows and stuff, and he doing his thing. Feature-length movies and everything. I don't know, man. Sacrifices are real. Illuminati, thank you, Miss Me. We love you madly. We love you madly. Thank you so much for the donation. But I know I'm just dragging on and on, but this is Helen Belafonte's manager, J. Richard Kennedy, MK Ultra showbiz guy, manager for Harry Belafonte, business partners with Frank Sinatra, who's all mob connected, Kennedy connected. You understand? And also was Elaine Brown's boyfriend. You know, Elaine Brown, the Black Panther, you know, that one that led the Black Panthers at one point. Elaine Brown, the reason that Bunchy Carter and our Princess Bunchy Carter and John Huggins got killed, maybe at UCLA, because they was fighting over her honor, from what I understand. The one that Judge Joe Brown recruited to UCLA, that Elaine Brown. She talked about J. Richard Kennedy in her book, A Taste of Power, her autobiography. This man was a government agent, FBI spy, MK Ultra specialist, CIA, whatever you want to call him. This man was deep in the government, doing psychotherapy without a license. He had a license from the government, allegedly. Mind control. You know, like Charles Manson. Charles Manson was a decent musician. Check out some of Charles Manson's songs, his recording. You know, he was connected to Dennis Wilson, but Charles Manson said he been CIA. I'm CIA, man. I'm CIA, man. The CIA sent me. Charles Manson was a government product. Now, he was incarcerated for most of his life, starting as a teenager. So, I mean, the stuff is real. Like, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But what I'm saying is, Harold Belafonte told his first wife, he think the government's after him. He didn't probably realize that his manager was deep in government. He was a spook like a CIA agent, FBI type of spook. Look up J. Richard Kennedy. But in spite of that, you know, you look at Harry Belafonte, his jegna was Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson was victimized by the government. See, like Dizzy Gillespie, I read Dizzy Gillespie's autobiography. Dizzy Gillespie had such admiration and respect for Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson, Malcolm X had so much admiration and respect for Paul Robeson. He learned how to do public speaking by listening to Paul Robeson. That's how Malcolm learned how to do public speaking. And Dizzy said in his autobiography, which is worth a read, Dizzy talked about a lot of things. He talked about how a lot of jazz musicians became Muslims because he saw how white people in America treated Muslims better than black people. If white folks thought you was a black person that was a Muslim from a different country than Mississippi or Alabama or America, they actually allow you to stay and go places they would not let American black people go. Hear what I'm saying? This Gillespie talked about this in his autobiography. He said a lot of us became Muslim because he was I forgot what you call. It's like benign faith or something. Baha'i. He was a Baha'i faith. And I get lost, man. Look, Dizzy said a lot of these kids became Muslim because they saw how if they thought you was a foreign black that was different than American black in America, they allow you certain privileges they wouldn't give to regular black Americans. So they picked up on that hustle. I'm not saying that all them jazz musicians was doing that hustle, that grift, but some of them were grifting if Dizzy said it. But Dizzy said something like he said, you know, to the effect, I am not quoting him directly, but he's saying they did Dr. King and Malcolm a favor by killing them young. They tortured Paul Robeson. He was almost 80 years old when he passed on, I believe. He was either late 70s or early 80s. But they took his passport, his ability to make money from him. They tried to suicide Paul Robeson, I believe, in Russia. They gave him some LSD or some type of drug, hallucinogenic or something that was messing with him. People thought he was trying to kill himself. He almost died. Just like they did Malcolm. He got food poisoning several times when he was overseas. Had to get his stomach pumped. This is what these devils do. So, you know, Harry was deep in the movement, in the struggle. But what I love about those guys like Dick Gregory and Harry Belafonte, they was trying to do the Diddy thing. Like Diddy want to be front and center. He don't want to be a supporter on the sidelines or man behind the scenes. He want to be in everybody video, everybody GoFundMe, everybody hashtag movement, right? He want to be the front and center. Harry Belafonte, Dick Gregory, they overstood the assignment. Harry said, I got to assist Dr. King. I got to raise money and awareness among people that could help provide resources for Dr. King and the movement. I am not the spokesperson for the movement. Dr. King is the spokesperson for the movement. I am an aid. I am a resource. I'm a fundraiser. When Dr. King need a place to get away, to think, to refresh, to get his thoughts together, he could come to my place in New York and be himself, to be comfortable. He knew the assignment. Dick Gregory overstood the assignment with Medgar Evers. When Medgar Evers got killed in Mississippi, that fall was 1963. The government, the Kennedy, JFK government, denied assistance to the black residents of Greenwood. I think it was punishment for them being active in their own liberation, registering to vote and stuff like this. So what Dick Gregory did, with the assistance of Hugh Hefner of Playboy fame, he chartered a plane full of supplies and food. And he brought it down to Mississippi. He basically took this plane of food and supplies and brought it down to Mississippi himself. And the late, great Bob Moses, the founder of the Algebra Project, the great civil rights activist and one of the architects of Freedom Summer, he said, when I witnessed Dick Gregory chartered a plane and brought food and supplies to the black folks in the Mississippi Delta, that gave us or me the idea for Freedom Summer. So this one black man, Dick Gregory, this comedian, this court jester, like Malcolm court jester, this jokester, this white man's puppet, he had the balls to secure a plane full of food and supplies to bring in the struggling black folks in Mississippi on his own. And that inspired Bob Moses the next year to create Freedom Summer. That changed the game. See how it works. So this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. The way y'all should always be true to who you are. Be yourself so you can make an authentic contribution to the world. That's how you become great, by being who you really are and not being ashamed of who you really are and knowing who you really are. So Harry Belafonte was one of them people. So bless him. But look up J. Richard Kennedy and Elaine Brown. Like I said, she's not hiding. See what I'm saying? I remember 20-something years ago, I had an art show at the Urban League in St. Louis. It was one of the best urban leagues in the country, one of the best endowed. My cousin-in-law, James Buford, was a phenomenal fundraiser. And so I had my art show, not realizing that he was going to be my cousin-in-law. Had no idea my family connection to the president of the Urban League at the time. Had I known that, I may not be talking to y'all right now. I might be living it up in high society. I didn't know. But he passed on, James. I think James Buford, rest in peace. But Cookie Jordan was the curator of my art show. This was my first professional one-man art show that was reviewed by a very well-respected St. Louis art critic in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. So she reached out to me because I was supposed to take down my art. Said, Ron, can you leave some of this artwork up? Because we got Elaine Brown coming in to speak. She's like going to be promoting and signing her book and do a lecture. So I met Elaine Brown. She had a book about Little B, this juvenile offender or whatever. She was, advocating for his release and, all this stuff. So I had my artwork up still, and I took a picture with Elaine Brown. And she really enjoyed my artwork. She said, it's revolutionary art. She autographed a paper for me, took a picture with me. And I just knew she was a Black Panther because and she was cool. I mean, I ain't she messed around with J. Richard Kennedy, all that, she was trained by the government. She's a double agent. I don't know all that. I ain't into all this. That Panther stuff is interesting. But yeah, I mean, I met Elaine Brown. I got a picture with Elaine Brown. And she liked my art. She dug my art. I think I gave her a print of some of my artwork too. But yeah, but she admitted freely in the book that J. Richard Kennedy was a handler boyfriend, that he trained her. And I told you J. Richard Kennedy he had CIA, FBI, government connections deep into Hollywood. Show business and the government go hand in hand, hand in glove. Okay, glove in hand, whatever. Anyway, so a lot of our freedom fighters, they got a fetish for white women. They got a thing for white girls. I ain't talking about that cocaine. I'm talking white girl, white girl, white girl. Not white lines and white girls sometimes, but and you think, oh, well, Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte, they first wives were Black, but they married white women. And Dr. King wanted to marry this white German American cafeteria worker at seminary. See, a lot of people don't know Dr. King had a thing for this German white cafeteria, German American, I think, white cafeteria lady. He wanted to marry a white woman. He wanted a white woman to be his wife. They actually interviewed this white lady. I don't know if she's still alive, but she got interviewed. I don't know, it's for the History Channel for some documentary years ago. And you probably got it on YouTube, but she talked about Dr. King courting her. And his family did not approve, but one reason they did not approve because he was marrying below his socioeconomic status. Dr. King was part of the black elite, so he was married beneath his station, and this was a working class white woman. The first, she's below his economic status, and also, she's a white woman. And how you gonna bring a white woman down to Alabama? Be married? You could be married, I guess, up north like that, but not in Alabama like that. Not at that time, not to my knowledge. But then Marcus Garvey, he had a white female playmate coming up. Then when they came of age, they stopped playing together. Her folks said, you can't play with Marcus no more. That's from my understanding, from my research. They had a white female playmate growing up in Jamaica. And when they came a certain age, they stopped communicating. They got disconnected. You think about, Malcolm X when he was Detroit Red, when he was a hustler. He messed around on white women from Boston. He had a thing for white meat. I'm not knocking that, but I'm just, stating the facts. Then you got some people in the movement. I know, like James Foreman. He was married to a blue blood white woman, like one of the white women they had, like some like Rockefeller, Rothschild type of thing going on. So he had kids by a white lady who had them type of blue blood, type of Illuminati connections, whatever you want to call it. But he still was an effective movement leader and organizer. James Foreman was a part of SNCC at one point. He probably was the oldest member of SNCC, and also he was a military veteran. So he had a different outlook on things. And he wrote an autobiography that talked about how the powers that be chose to fund certain organizations. Think about Black Lives Matter, LLC, how you got really, you got some grassroots freedom fighting organizations that never get the corporate check or sponsorship. But you got Black lesbian mentions, they get all the money, 90 million reasons why they get all the money, but yet they have not did anything to help out the grassroots activists, Where's the bail fund, the legal defense fund? Where's the pension? Where's the life insurance policy for some of these real hardline activists that really believe in the cause of liberating Black people, that really do believe that Black lives matter? Not no communist George Soros front, okay? But I digress. But go back to what Malcolm said in the message to the grassroots or the Battle of the Bullet. But like he said the Negro Revolution will be controlled by foxy white liberals in the government, but the Black Revolution will be controlled by God. So there you go. But a lot of these guys was into white women. And I'm going to wrap it up with this. I go, Booker T. Washington, right? I'm not wrapping up, but Booker T. Washington. Oh, wait a minute. How do it? Okay. Well, Booker T. Washington, y'all know Booker T. Washington almost got lynched, right? In New York City. They almost lynched Booker T. Washington in Central Park. It's a New York Times article about it back in the day. They say he was a peeping Tom. Somebody accused him of watching white women in this building. And he got chased out the building. And a white crowd, a white mob almost lynched him. He was saved by a white police officer, from my understanding, from being lynched. Y'all can look this up. Take a look. It's all online. Take a look. It's all online. They almost lynched Booker T. Washington on being a peeping Tom watching white women, supposedly. I don't know if it's true or not. But I don't think Booker T. Washington pressed any charges. I think he even asked the officer, according to the article, should I press charges? What should I do? But it's Booker T. Washington. But allegedly it happened. But anyway. And some people believe that he got beat up so bad that some of the side effects of him getting beat up caused him to have an early death. Because we don't really know how Booker T. Washington really died. A lot of people believe he was murdered. I had a nurse on here from Mobile that said he was murdered. She said the old timer said that a Haitian poisoned his food. Because one thing about Booker T. Washington, what people don't understand, Booker T. Washington did a lot of pro-Black B1 things behind the scenes. He was the spokesperson for Black America at the time, but also he did a lot of things behind the scenes that he didn't want to promote. But one thing he was vocal about was the U.S. occupation of Haiti back in the 1910s. He actually wrote an op-ed or article in the New York Age that was ran and by the brilliant T. Thomas Fortune. We don't even know that name no more. How many of y'all ever heard of T. Thomas Fortune? That guy was a brilliant race man. He was a Black Media Matters man. He was a brilliant editor and newspaper publisher. New York Age. But Booker T. Washington criticized American policy as related to the occupation of Haiti. He criticized the American government and the Marines. This goes back on, I think the paper published his article. You can find this article online, I think October 18th, 1915. By November of 1915, he was dead. And nobody ever said how he really died. So this woman wrote a book, Death in 60 Days, about Booker T. Washington. It should be available on Amazon. We did an interview on here several years ago, and I met her in person. She's good people. I hope she's doing well. But let me get to this. Now I gotta close out. Also, it's gonna be 3 hours. Thank y'all for rocking with me. I know it's tight, man. Let's see something. I want to show this picture. That's our man, Frederick Douglass. That's Dr. Umar's guy, Frederick Douglass, right? That woman staring at him like he's a god, like he is everything, like he is the world. That's his wife, Helen Pitts. That's her sister standing up, but that's his wife, Helen Pitts. That's his wife. That's his second wife. She's a white woman. She'd be classified as a white woman. Now, she is the daughter of an abolitionist. They did not approve of this. Her marrying this black man, even though he was a prominent black man. Arguably, he was the black leader of Black America at the time of his death in 1895. That's Frederick Douglass with his white girl, his white lady. Now, his first wife was a black woman. The woman who helped free him, who gave him his children, who helped him become the man he became, was a black woman. Now, the woman who helped maintain his legacy, the reason why we know about Frederick Douglass is because of that white woman, his second wife, who was around the same age as his daughter. But look how she's looking at him. You could tell that she not only loves this man, she worships the ground he walks on. She worships, she adores Frederick. And let's read a little bit about Helen Pitts. Put it on the Pitts. Because we got to tell the real history. We got to stop this because, like, we keep on talking about we on code. We ain't on code because why did Emmett Till get killed if we got a black code? Because black code would have told his great uncle Moses, hey, it was an incident at the Bryant store. Let's get him out tonight. Matter of fact, not only get him out tonight, let's all of us leave tonight. So we got this imaginary thing. Y'all know y'all love white people. Stop it. We don't love white people. You using white people money. You work at the white man's job. Look at the white man's TV. You want to be the white man's Hollywood. You want the white man's Oscar, Grammy, Emmy, Tony, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, green beans, mac and cheese. So we got to stop this. We're not serious about our liberation. We're not. And all I'm trying to do is don't shoot the messenger. Don't be mad at the man. Don't be mad at the mailman for delivering the bill that you owe. It's time to pay up. So I'm going to tell the truth about Frederick Douglass and his white girl. And Dr. Umar said he a relative of Frederick Douglass. Okay. And he's still a great man. But this is but let's talk about this because this is the woman. It wasn't his black wife. Now, not taking away nothing from his black wife because she helped make that man who he was, an icon. But the white woman made sure that he was remembered as a great man to this day. That white woman made sure the legacy was secure to this day. Because Frederick Douglass could have went the way of a lot of our great black men from that era. Why we don't talk about Martin Delany like we talk about Frederick Douglass? Martin Delany was a great man. Yeah, right. Who was he? Exactly. So this white woman helped make sure the legacy was secure. I'm going to tell you how she did it and what they went through. Then we go on from there. Let me see. It's from Encyclopedia Britannica. So I can read this. Okay, I'm gonna read this article from Encyclopedia Britannica for the record, and then I'm gonna end this show. I'm gonna talk a little bit about this, and then I'm gonna end the show. And that be that on that. And you don't have to like me no more. I don't really care. I got to go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch these toilets. I'll be all right. God is good. And somebody here love me. Somebody loves you, baby. Y'all may not love me no more, but that's all right. So let's read. Why was Frederick Douglass's marriage to Helen Pitts controversial? On the morning of January 25th, 1884, Jane Pitts woke up to the newspaper headlines that her daughter, Helen, without her knowledge, had married the famous abolitionist and writer Frederick Douglass. The news of the union shocked many people, and scrutiny came from all sides at once toward the newlyweds, who now found themselves in the middle of a controversy. Who was Helen Pitts Douglass, and how did her marriage to Frederick become akin to a national scandal? Born to an upstate New York family whose kin included Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president, and Henry David Thoreau, Helen Pitts was raised by abolitionist and reformist parents. After pursuing higher education and obtaining a degree, a rare accomplishment for a woman at that time, she briefly worked as a teacher in Norfolk, Virginia, where a school was opened for black children soon after the city surrendered to Union forces during the Civil War. Constantly harassed by Confederate sympathizers, black students in Norfolk faced many barriers to receiving an education. During her tenure, Pitt stood her ground and defended her students, causing whoever harassed them to be arrested and fined for their behavior. Unfortunately, her teaching career was cut short by an illness that forced her to stay bedridden for years. In 1882, Pitts moved to Washington, D.C., where she wrote regularly for the Alpha, a feminist newspaper. She stayed at her uncle's house, which happened to be next to Cedar Hill, the home of Frederick Douglass and his wife, Anna Murray Douglass. Pitts and Frederick became acquaintances through letters in which they discussed politics with each other. After he was appointed Washington's recorder of deeds, Pitts was hired as a clerk at his office. It was in that year that his wife of more than 40 years passed away. Douglass subsequently fell into a deep depression, during which he moved north to reconnect with friends, including Pitts's family. His relationship with Pitts intensified, probably sometime in 1883, when they found themselves in each other's company discussing shared interests, from political reform to theater. In January 1884, in a surprising move that not even their own families saw coming, Frederick Douglass and Helen Pitts married in the home of a mutual friend. The immediate reaction from their families was unfavorable, to say the least. Douglas's children opposed the marriage because they saw it as an insult to their mother, who had passed away about 18 months earlier. Pitts's family, though devout abolitionists, did not accept her decision as a white woman to marry a black man. Her father, Gideon Pitts, refused to talk to her again and excluded her from his will. Wow. So you mean to tell me this white woman didn't love this man? That she got disowned by her dad and out the will? Wow. Around the country, responses to the marriage tended to be negative. Many national publications targeted the newlyweds' age gap, mistakenly stating that Helen was younger than Frederick's eldest child. In reality, Helen and Frederick were 21 years apart. Criticisms from both white people and black people targeted the interracial nature of the marriage. Interracial marriage, especially between a black man and a white woman, was controversial and rare in America's predominantly white society. Black publications implied that Douglass was betraying his race and his cause by marrying a white woman. Despite the negative press, some influential activists and friends of his, such as my Black History Dream Girl, journalist Ida B. Wells Barnett, spoke in defense of the couple, although Frederick and Helen mostly refused to respond to the criticism. Frederick, in a letter to a friend in 1884, asked, "What business has the world with the color of my wife?" Right on, Fred. Right, said Fred. All right. That's right. Frederick Douglass and Helen Pitts Douglass remained married until his death in 1895. After his will was contested by his children, Helen secured loans in order to buy Cedar Hill and preserve it as a memorial to her late husband. She dedicated the rest of her life to commemorating Frederick Douglass's legacy, as well as giving speeches about ongoing political issues. Because of her perseverance, Cedar Hill is now a National Historic Site where visitors can see original furnishings in the home that she and Frederick Douglass lived and worked in. Okay. There you go. There you go. That's amazing. So we got to thank her for having the foresight. It's kind of like what Lisa Marie Presley did for Elvis' legacy by maintaining Graceland. She preserved his legacy because Elvis would not be where he at without somebody taking that, taking his legacy and amplifying it. Elvis was not loved by Memphis like that. Elvis was more popular in Las Vegas than he was in Memphis. People talking about, oh, Elvis was a king. He had more love in Las Vegas for him than he did in Memphis. He spent most of his time in Las Vegas. He just happened to die in Memphis. He died. But like Dr. King, he married the right woman, Coretta, who's a black woman, but she knew the power of his legacy. She could not let his death be in vain. You had people like Reverend Jesse Jackson saying, well, Coretta, what's done is done. Just move on. And she said no, because like soon as Martin got killed, she started planning to preserve and promote his legacy. She made sure that people didn't forget that Dr. Martin or Michael Luther King Jr. was a man who lived among us, who did a courageous thing. He gave his life in service of his fellow man or human being. So she not only made sure he was remembered with the King Center, but she helped get a federal holiday recognized for her husband. That's amazing. Amazing. So Frederick married this white woman. You look at how she looked at him in his picture. She worshiped Frederick. She just didn't love him. She worshiped him. She thought so much of him and his amazing accomplishments. The fact that her parents are such hypocrites. They we for abolitionism and we support, black folks being free, but you can't marry my white daughter, Niagara. And Frederick said he were friends. Frederick Douglass was considered one of the first feminists in the country. He was a former enslaved black man, but he considered himself to be a feminist. And yet you had white women disrespecting him, like Susan B. Anthony. Now, when he wanted to attend a women's rights conference in Atlanta, they said, we disinvite you because you might offend those Southern white women. The fact that you married to a white woman may offend their sensibilities. And Ida B. Wells called her out. She did a yay. Susan B. Anthony don't care about black people. But now she called out Susan B. Anthony on the hypocrisy and the gall she had to disinvite Frederick Douglass from this women's conference. But Frederick was a supporter, and also, he was a vice president on the presidential ticket for the Equal Rights Party back in 1872. Frederick Douglass was the vice presidential nominee. Then you had a white woman, feminist, whatever she was, Victoria Woodhull. She was the presidential nominee. So Frederick Douglass has always been an interesting trendsetter, a thought provocateur, a doer. So you really can't put Frederick Douglass in a box. He's still a great American. But he liked the white meat later on. He loved dark meat, and he switched to white meat. But he picked the right woman, period, to honor his legacy. I went to Cedar Hill with my Aunt Kathy, I want to say back in 2005, early 2005. She took me to D.C., the Anacostia area where I think the Cedar Hill is located. And it's like a house on a hill. It's on a steep hill. And it's interesting, man. It was amazing going to that site. the walk in the home of Frederick Douglass, you know, was amazing. And because that white woman thought enough of this man to make sure that he won't be forgotten by history, that we know who Frederick Douglass is. And this bringing my point, this is not about color of skin. This is about character. This is crazy that people focus on how people look instead of how people do and act, what they decide to focus on. I mean, like, this is strange. We all supposed to be humans. And y'all mentioned, well, you know, genetically, you know, they this and that. And no, I'm just looking. Frederick Douglass' mama was black, and his daddy was a white man. So if he was going to hate white people, he got to hate himself too. We all mix, man. I could go on my family tree, genealogy. I got people in my family that fought in the Revolutionary War, but they were white people from North Carolina. So they are part of me. I can't deny that. Got French people, I got French blood and all this. You know, but I've been saying Frederick picked the right women, black and white. You know, he had the black woman. She gave him his freedom. She helped free him, gave him a life, allowed him to travel the way he traveled, to do the things he had to do to fulfill his assignment, had his children. She helped secure his legacy too. Then he had the white woman to make sure that his legacy was remembered. She secured his home, Cedar Hill, for future generations to understand, to access a piece of greatness of this man. That was a dutiful wife. Look how she's looking at him. I will hope one day that I had a wife that would look at me like that, that I was a man of accomplishment, of worth, a man of great respect and honor, and she will honor her duties as a wife to ensure that my life would not have been in vain, that my living would not be in vain. So she did that. And she only lived 8 more years after him, but she secured the legacy. So God bless them both and bless his first wife as well, too. But let me read something that Frederick Douglass had to say about, I think I had it pulled up somewhere. I can't find it. Mary Helen Pitts. But this is what we're doing, we all be. See, people say, well, Dr. Umar Johnson said, yeah, he don't mess with no snow bunny. Okay, this is relative, though. My thing is, has Dr. Umar Johnson married a black woman yet? I don't let nobody dictate to me who I can love and how I should love. That's none of my business. At the first time, I don't, you know, I'm just saying, like, I'm not rapping to that space because I love black women. My mama's black. My grandmas are black. My aunties are black. My sister's black. But I'm 43. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I can't do the Steve Harvey thing. You know, I got big lips, but I can't do Steve Harvey. I don't got Steve Harvey money. Let me see. Fred just said something about, let's see. I'm just looking up stuff. Okay. The marriage was generally the subject of scorn by both white and black residents in the town. Though the Douglases were firm in their convictions, love came to me, and I was not afraid to marry the man I loved because of his color. She said, Douglas definitely commented, this proves I am impartial. My first wife was the color of my mother, and the second, the color of my father. A main source of support was Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who said, in defense of the right to marry whom we please, we might quote some of the basic principles of our government and suggesting that in some things, individual rights to taste should control. Helen and Frederick were married for 11 years until his sudden death from a heart attack in 1895. They did not have any children together. Frederick had 5 children with his first wife, Anna, Louis, Frederick Jr., Charles, Rosetta, and Annie. I would say that the children they had together was securing his legacy by securing the home, the Cedar Hill home. That was her child that she gave birth to. And one of the reasons why we know Frederick Douglass because of her efforts in that matter. So, okay, like I was saying, let me wrap this up. Yeah, I don't, man, let me wrap this up. I could go on and on. I want to thank y'all for being patient. Y'all are like active in the chats. I don't know. Somebody asked me about what's going on in St. Louis. I'm not really hip to what's going on in St. Louis. I know I call it Missouri or Missouri. I call it misery, state of misery for obvious reasons. But what I was saying is like, I respect that. I respect what Frederick Douglass did in terms of like, he gave so much to the cause. He gave so much to the movement. He sacrificed so much. He did a lot for our people. And to me, sometimes you deserve a right. Sometimes we deny ourselves pleasures like being loved and giving love back. Baba Dick Gregory used to say, it's not about being in love. It's about being lovable, being able to receive and give love. And like to me, we are all humans. We should have a right to be able to do that. It's funny reading what Elizabeth Cady Stanton said about marriage rights and how some things should be left up to personal taste. It kind of reminds me of the stuff that's going on with the rainbow thing about their little marriage stuff and all this stuff. It's just weird, like how, things change, but so many things remain the same. Like, it's really weird that we discriminate, or the powers that be or the system discriminate against a person based on skin tone or the type of hair they have or the eye color. That's really stupid if you think about how stupid that is. And then it's also silly to me to want to be around people that don't want you to. Why force yourself on the people? They say whites only, not because you're inferior, but because they know something's wrong with them. That's why I look at it. They don't want to be with us because they know that something's wrong with them. And something wrong with us if we want to be with people that don't want to be with us. But if you got people the so-called white and so-called black, they want to be together and they agree that they could work this thing out. Who am I to say that they can't be together? Because like I said, I got white people in my family trees. I got black folks that fought in the Civil War. I got white folks that fought in the Revolutionary War. But they all inside of my DNA. So my thing is this, is that who I choose to love does not discredit my passion for loving my people. For me, I thought I would be, my cousin, I come from I be trying to tell women, look, I got amazing bloodlines. I got amazing people that I'm related to in my families on both sides. I'm related to Sister Rosetta Tharpe. If you into music, I'm related to Curtis Mayfield, to Marvin Gaye, to Big Miller, to Vanessa Bell Armstrong, to a whole bunch of musicians and entertainers. I got revolutionaries in my bloodline. I got Julian Mayfield, who's a playwright, a contemporary of Harry Belafonte, who also had a connection to Paul Robeson, who when Malcolm X used to go to Ghana, he would stay with my cousin and his family in Ghana. They would travel the country and the continent together. Julian pictures of my cousin with Malcolm X and Maya Angelou. His wife was Dr. Ana Livia Cordero. She's a Puerto Rican American. She was a revolutionary. She looked at white, you know what I'm saying? But she's Puerto Rican. But yet she was the personal physician for Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. She saved Maya Angelou's son from a real bad motorcycle accident while they were in Africa, saved his life. And my cousin Julian was also a speechwriter for President Kwame Nkrumah. And he also helped Robert F. Williams escape from the FBI in the country and helped him get to Cuba. The real Queen is Slim. They should have made a movie about Robert F. Williams and Mabel Williams. I said Black history is better or stranger than science fiction and better than a Hollywood movie. Lena Waithe could have made a real movie about Black folks that actually won. They got away. Robert F. Williams and Mabel Williams got away, and they came back and beat it and lived to be old people. They won. And my cousin helped them to escape. So I'm trying to make that a sub point. Y'all want to have babies with me? Look, I got all these interesting, unique, amazing people in my bloodline. You don't want to continue this? Well, it is what it is. But then, I work at a place with a whole bunch of Black women. I be trying to hit on all this, but I be professional as well, too. My thing is this, let's say God got an amazing sense of humor. Let's say that God sent a person out of the blue. Maybe this person texts you or call you or left a message or email saying, look, Ron, I've been rocking with you for over 10 years. I love your podcast. It's not just about Judge Joe Brown and Dick Gregory, but I love that too. They brought me to you. But you being you compelled me to stay following you. But now I want to make myself known to you. And they do that. And then you start, going back and forth and text, exchange phone numbers. You call this person, they call you. I was going to be on the phone for 10 minutes. 10 minutes turned to 5 hours. And then, it keep on happening where, I'm going to be on the phone for 30 minutes, and 30 minutes turned to 4 hours, and 25 minutes is 2 hours, and da-da-da-da. And you're doing this back to back, and it'd be late at night, but at the same time, you not tired the next day. You more motivated to be a better version of yourself every day. You are more committed to doing what you can with the talents God gave you, trying to amplify to not only better yourself, but to better and elevate the conditions of your people that you love. But sometimes they can't love you back because there's a lot of self-hate. So, you get to know this person, y'all go back, y'all help each other out. They have great taste in music. They have an amazing ear for music. Very intelligent, converse with you on all types of subjects. Then you do a video call. It's okay. Are you a real person? Are you catfishing me? Do a video call. Then you do a video call. Hey, wait a minute. This ain't no sister. This ain't no sister. She's not who I thought she was, but then she's so much more. But she ain't the sister. I thought she was going to be this revolutionary sister. It's this other person. She's not a sister, but she is my sister. As far as our struggles align, philosophy, outlook on things, da-da-da. So if a person that doesn't necessarily look like your mama or your aunt or your sister, if you meet this person and y'all connect and y'all vibing and it's benefiting you mentally and spiritually and even physically, want you to be the best version of yourself, go to the gym, that'll work out, eat better, do better because you got something to live for. You got somebody you want to see. Why would you say no to that? Because they look a certain way. Why would you say no to that? You don't deserve to be happy. You don't deserve to have somebody that love you for you, that accept you for you, that know you, that appreciate you, that actually listen to what you're saying, that actually is thoughtful enough to want to offer you constructive criticism, they want to offer you help and resources. You're going to deny yourself, and God sent that person to you. And God got a interesting sense of humor about this crap. Because you never thought that you'd be, if you was this revolutionary, I'm into free jazz, da-da-da, I'm into black power, and then he sends some tattooed punk rocker person with a mohawk to you. And you're like, man, this is not who I am picturing. I envision to be my queen, but she may be the Isis to your Osiris. She may be the one that's going to make sure that your legacy lives beyond you. You going to say no to that because you care about what people think and how people view you, and these people don't even give a damn about you because all they do is want to tear you down. Either they don't see all the good you do, you go in debt doing good, giving back. You go without giving back, not knowing you when you got into the situation 20 years ago, they were gonna be like this. I don't give a damn what nobody say. Al Capone, they say Al Capone said if I knew the trouble I would got into when I went to Chicago, I would have stayed in Brooklyn and faced the murder rap. But he made a lot of money, but yeah, he made a lot of enemies. He went to prison, da da da. So like I never thought that, to give my life, to dedicate to serve my people would get me caught up in some BS and betrayals and stuff like that. But it comes with the territory. But what I'm saying is, if God give you this person at this time in your life, I look at relatives. Some that got kids, they don't have relationships with their kids, and they by themselves. They probably never thought they'll live to be 70 or something like that. And it was a time where their kids wanted to be in their lives. They wanted to get to know them. Then them seasons go and go, and then next thing you know, they got families of their own. They got, you got grandkids you never seen, you never connected to. You think it's too late. You by yourself. You lonely, and but you got that nephew or that cousin or whoever that when they were little, you will always look out for them. You will give them pizza and money when you got paid, just because you would take them, y'all watch Super Bowl together. That makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? When you do that little things, you think don't mean nothing to a kid. I'm gonna tell you something. If y'all got kids in your life, whether it be your biological kid, do right by the kid. I ain't say spoil the kid, but show that you care. Because when they come of age and you become aged, they might look out for you later on. They may. It may not. You never know. But I'm saying it makes a difference if I can say, well, Uncle did do this for me when I was a kid. I wish he would have done that for his other kids. I know he paid the child support, but I wish he would have had an actual relationship with these kids, because maybe they will be in his life right now looking out for him in this time of need. Then you look at, so I meet women sometimes, like, you think they want to get to know you, but they don't really get to know you. They like the thought of somebody being there that they maybe could tell what to do, or you can listen to them talk about themselves all day. Like, you're not even having a two-way conversation. It's like it's all about them. I meet some pretty women like that. That's why a lot of them be alone, because it's all about them. But what I'm saying is, don't let other people's opinions or shortcomings or insecurities be the standard bearer for your life. Live the life that you want to live and be unapologetic about living that life. Ain't nobody could tell me about no marriage if they never been married. You can't tell me, Ron, you should do it this way. How you have you walked in my shoes? Do you know why, what I'm doing? Can you understand and appreciate that? But don't let people have this type of final say over how you live your life. Whatever you love, who you love, man. I'm not saying no weirdo stuff either. I'm talking about consensual love, responsible love, real love. Be lovable, like Dick Gregory said, but also be open to receiving. That's so important, because a lot of us can't receive. A lot of us can't ask for help when we need help. A lot of us can't do that. There's a lot of proud people. We all in this together. We all in the same gang, maybe, same tribe, maybe, but we all need each other. We all be in it to win it. Well, I call it we all be. We all be in it. We all in it. We all be. So someday we all be free, hopefully. But anyway, I think that's enough rambling. Thank you all for hearing me out. Thank you, Sister Rena. Much love and prosperity. Thank you so much. I received this. And it's gonna be interesting. People just, I'm a weirdo to a lot of people, but weirdness, everybody's weird. Weirdness is on a spectrum like autism. But think about what I'm saying. And think about this. For some reason, I'm thinking about Ted Bundy recently. I was like, it's weird. Ted Bundy, he killed a whole bunch of women. He violated and killed a whole bunch of women. But yet you still have women that were his pen pals. When he was in prison on death row, he had women admirers around the world writing him, wanted to marry him. This man probably hated his mom, killed a whole bunch of women, kidnapped, violated, and killed a whole bunch of women. And yet women still love this man. That's like, he even got married while he was on death row, I believe. That's something else, ain't it? We think about it. Think about somehow some of us men have a hard time, just dating somebody. And you got a serial killer to get all these females. And he got a thing for women. He hate women, but these women were crazy about Ted Bundy. And Ted Bundy could have been the governor of Washington State. So he was on that political ascension, like he was a political star in Washington State at one point. So that's kind of scary to think about. But anyway, just food for thought. But yeah, right said Fred, right on Frederick Douglass, right on Sister Helen Pitts Douglass, right on Sister Anna Douglass. For they all play their part. So there you go. If you like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. We All Be TV, that's YouTube. Also, if you'd like to support the movement, you could, do this. Cash out your support, $ R2C2H2. That's $ R2C2H2. Google Pay, PayPal, Zelle your support, R2C2H2 @gmail.com. That's R2C2H2 @gmail.com. You can Vimo your support at R2C2H2. That's at R2C2H2. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/weallbe. And I'm doing some things. This is the second quarter. I care about my fans and supporters, and I'm going to show you how I care. There's going to be a lot of changes coming up. Be more attentive to the fans, to the followers, and to the investors. I really appreciate y'all. It's been an eye-opener this year and last 3 years, actually, for me. So also you could, buy Artificial Art, R2C2H2.com. That's R2C2H2.com. Even wear Artificial Art. I got my Nipsey Hussle shirt on that I did. Lionel Crenshaw. If you're on YouTube, go below the description box. There's our official Teespring shelf. Access that. Got more stuff coming along, but thank y'all so much. I appreciate it for y'all bearing it out. I know I could be all over the place, but it's so much on my mind. I can't, it's hard for me to do like a lot of people now. They just go live and they just say whatever they say, and they don't even try to research stuff. I'll be listening how people talk about Mamie Till. They don't even know nothing about the case. It's just weird, man. Like I'm in a nightmare. I'm in Twilight Zone. But I try my best, and I get it wrong sometimes. I mispronunciate names and get stuff off dates and timing and all that. It is what it is, but I'm not trying to mislead anybody. And I do encourage y'all, stop getting into this talking head mode and do your own research, because research has its own set of rewards. And also, I'll say this. Think about this. Malcolm X. I love Malcolm X. And people say they love him and love Malcolm X because they don't follow what he say. He told y'all about them Democrats and white liberals. Y'all still voting for Joe Biden, but that's another story. But there's this story I read. The great historian, J.A. Rogers, the great black historian, 6 Negro presidents, all this stuff, 100 amazing facts from black history, all that. Look up J.A. Rogers. I love J.A. Rogers. And but J.A. Rogers, I believe, was married to a white woman at one point. But he was one of Malcolm X's key researchers. Malcolm had a team of brilliant researchers like Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben, and people like J.A. Rogers. He would consult them. They didn't have internet and all this stuff like we do, that we take for granted. So Malcolm had a crack team of just researchers and stuff that helped him with his research and history when he did his presentation. Malcolm was a brilliant debater. He knew he had to have his T's crossed and his I's dotted. And he was like really was a favorite of Harvard University. Harvard loved Malcolm X. He was more popular than President Kennedy became. People requesting his visits, his debates, and lectures. But J.A. Rogers was married to a white woman, I believe. And the story goes that Malcolm was invited over to J.A. Rogers' apartment, whatever. So Malcolm went. And I believe J.A. Rogers was so concerned about Malcolm finding out that he was married to a white woman that he hid his white wife in the closet. It's like an R. Kelly music video. And I believe something happened where she sneezed or something came out. And Jay didn't know what to do, but Malcolm didn't really care. I mean, Malcolm, he looking at the bigger picture. He looking at the bigger picture. Like, man, you do a lot of good work for me and provide good service for the people. So whatever. I don't know what Malcolm said, but that's what the story I heard. It might not be a true story, but it is what it is. But thing about it is, never forget, John Brown's birthday is coming up. He was a Taurus. It makes sense. Well, it was a black woman from California that financed his mission. She helped finance the raid on Harper's Ferry. Black woman from California. I think she gave John Brown will be equivalent in today's money $1 million for his Harper Ferry's raid which caused the Civil War. Look up this black woman name. So I gotta look her up. Oh, John Brown. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna read the John Brown. Mary Ellen Pleasant. That's the one who helped him. So according to some historians, Pleasant likely played a key role in helping to finance John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry in Virginia, which is now West Virginia, an unsuccessful revolt by black slaves and white abolitionists in 1859. It was delayed because it helped start the Civil War 2 years later. Pleasant also gave shelter to fugitive slave Archie Lee when he was on the run. Okay. Mary Ellen Pleasant. She was a very wealthy landowner from California. She helped finance John Brown's raid. I think she gave to equivalent of $1 million. Some sources say they were lovers. I don't know. But it's neither here or there. But anyway, let's read the what I'm doing. Read the disclaimer. Thank y'all for y'all patience. It's been a long ride. Yeah, let me see. The best is yet to come. I've been on here for 3 hours. I can't believe, wow. Disclaimer: the views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. Thank you all so much. Y'all did a lot of talking in the chats. Okay, Sister Law Dog, just I dedicate the show to you. What'd you say? I think did I freeze? They would like to play with me. Ride or die, we all be. Exactly. So I'm gonna check out the chats later. I think y'all they trying to get me off the air. Thank y'all for riding and dying. We all be in it to win it. Like this. Yeah. I mean, I'm creatively maladjusted for a reason. Yeah, so I thank y'all. Okay. Y'all take care. Oh yeah, I had a good time here. Okay, I'm good. I did my job. God bless. One love. See that? Yeah, something like that. Oh, it's like a heart, right? Now I'm falling apart. Jeez. Okay. Good luck. One love.